Viewer discretion is advised. The following content may contain material that some viewers find disturbing or offensive. While we strive to create content that is informative and engaging, the topics discussed today touch upon sensitive subjects. We believe in open discussion and exploring complex themes, but we also understand that certain content can be challenging for some individuals. Your well-being is our priority. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to click away. We encourage you to proceed with caution and take care of yourself. For those who choose to continue, thank you for joining us in this important conversation. We appreciate your viewership and encourage you to follow our channel for more thought-provoking content.
By the last breath of the public law, then raise your ears. This is you, waking up. You make coffee like it's any other day. Then you see it. The day is falling apart. You step outside. The world has changed. This is your survival scenario. The emergency alert on your phone. The stores beginning to close. The calls that won't connect. The long, silent night when you finally understand that this isn't going away by morning. Whoa, what's that sound?
This is the emergency alert system. Nuclear detonations confirmed.
Oh my God, this is it, WW3.
Multiple strikes reported. Seek immediate shelter.
I have to get to the shelter now. Radiation levels rising, stay sheltered. The city's gone, we have to survive. This is your World War III update. Things are about to get very interesting, guys. Everything that could go wrong is going wrong all at once.
This is your World War III update. Things are about to get very interesting. Guys, congratulations. You're about to get one of the most concise and objective geostrategic analyses on the internet. I can unabashedly say that because I've seen and heard pretty much everybody in this space, and quite frankly, I'm bored. So when you're bored, you have to make your own content. So here we go. So here's what's going on. Right now, the USS George Washington, the aircraft carrier that was overseeing the Indo-Pacific, is now going to be headed towards the Middle East. We talked about this last week. We're about a week out from when it arrives in CENTCOM. They were tasked with securitizing the Indo-Pacific. Now that leaves a bit of a power vacuum potentially, because you're going to have 3 aircraft carriers for a brief period of time concentrated around the CENTCOM in the Middle East, which leaves a brief window for a major aviational operation to take place if they so choose. This would seem to map on well with my theory that as soon as U.S. boots hit the ground, China is going to make its move. And now they've apparently created a bit of a window of opportunity for the Chinese to do so if they so choose. However, this could just be bait. I'm not quite convinced as to whether or not this isn't the Americans trying to bait the Chinese into a quagmire type situation in Taiwan, which I doubt the Chinese will fall for if that is the case, or if the U.S. is simply that overstretched and overplayed their hand and have now been forced to take this drastic measure of moving one of their most critical assets from that region into CENTCOM to relieve the USS Abe Lincoln of its 250-day stint. Now, they have a lot of assets in the Indo-Pacific, in the Philippines, in Taiwan, in South Korea, and Japan, and no doubt they have nuclear assets out there as well with nuclear submarines. Nonetheless, this does create a bit of a power vacuum that could be potentially exploited. And so in the next week, it's going to be interesting to see what I hate saying the Trump administration, because they're not doing the deciding. I'm not convinced anymore that the actor-in-chief is doing anything but just bloviating to no end on X and other various mediums of communication. So we're going to go over all the details of everything that's going on today. There's rumors from Marjorie Taylor Greene that the White House is contemplating nuclear strikes. Everything they say, whenever they say something, it makes it less likely that it's going to happen. So right now, the Trump administration is saying that they're just going to try to exert economic pressure. They're going to double down on sanctions, double down on the blockade, and try to bring Iran to heel in that way. That has never worked. If it has only been after 15, 20 years of prolonged economic immiseration that it caused the capitulation or the breakdown of a society. Case in point would be Syria, but Iran is much more formidable, has more robust institutions, so it's very likely that that strategy is not going to work, and they know it. So if they're saying that they're going to take the economic stranglehold approach, then you can bet that they're going to do another major kinetic strike. There's no doubt about it in my mind. This simply cannot continue. The strategic oil reserve is depleting. It's down another 5 million barrels, and if the U.S. strategic oil reserve is down 5 million, everybody else's strategic oil reserves are also being depleted to a commensurate extent at the same time. So the clock is ticking, and now they're going to have this golden opportunity to have these 3 aircraft carriers in the region. You're noticing they're talking up the PSYOP about how the ship's living conditions are really bad. Look, I've worked in work camps before, and if you want to see a nasty toilet, go into one of those, ATCO camp toilets on an oil rig or in a forestry or whatever the case. They're nasty. Okay, so I don't really, I think it's slightly dramatized how bad living conditions are on that ship. Now, no doubt there's some psychological stuff being at sea for that long, but buy the ticket, take the ride. It is what it is. It's better than being in a trench at the end of the day. And I'm not saying that I don't sympathize, but I kind of don't, because I've worked in remote work camps before for long durations. And while you do get a break periodically, it is what it is. It could be a lot worse is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say ultimately is that this is somewhat of a psyop. I think it's to create the illusion that they're really only relieving that vessel of its duties, when the reality is you could potentially have a situation with the overlap of the deployments of these vessels in CENTCOM, that you have a major aviational operation. And this is probably why the Iranians have remained so vigilant and continue to, I don't want to say provoke, because they're the ones being provoked. Remember, this is what started World War II, is the blockade of Japan and the United States cutting off of Japan to get oil. That's what caused the Japanese to do Pearl Harbor. And so it could be said that the Iranians are struggling financially as a result of the blockade, and as such, they are now taking matters into their own hands and aggressively, a couple times a day, targeting or hitting ships. And the same is true in the Bab el-Mandeb. I mean, it just happened so many times this week, I've lost track how many ships have been either targeted or actually struck. One was completely incapacitated in the Bab el-Mandeb today by the Houthis. So to me, this all smacks of deception, because remember, we're living in the ISR satellite age, where it's very hard to hide a military conglomeration. And for that reason, you have to use all kinds of stratagem to throw your enemy off the scent. And so I suspect that that's what's happening here. Now, Trump is allegedly going to meet Xi Jinping. And you think about that for a second. You set up that meeting right around the same time that you're pulling your aircraft carrier. So is that to try to, get Xi Jinping to not attack or to not do anything provocative in and around the Taiwan Strait while the U.S. is committed in CENTCOM? There's something to do. And now we're hearing about North Korea, and they're trying to dial down the tension a bit. And all I'll say to that, and this is the main reason, my primary foundational thesis as to why all this shit is happening right now, and why I've been right since day one of Trump's election, when everybody said that this guy was going to be the peace president. Every time you meet somebody, a leader, that's the end of the road. That's the final card you play, and things always escalate after that. Case in point, when Trump met with Kim Jong-un 1.0, that was the first time back in 2017. The year after that, the North Koreans did more ICBM and missile tests than ever before. They've now, I don't know how many multiples their nuclear arsenal has increased by since that time, but they're now well into the double digits of nuclear weapons, and they have ICBMs. Okay, North Korea has nuclear-capable ICBMs. A few years ago, even just saying that would have been unthinkable, but that's been normalized now, thanks to Trump's failed meeting with Kim Jong-un. What happened after the Alaska summit? The exact same shit. How are things going in Ukraine right now? Not too good, are they? We are seeing things that I thought, if we seen under Biden, that everybody thought. Everyone in Trump's camp said, if this happens, we're going to nuclear war, World War III. You remember the good old days when exactly what they're doing in Russia right now, that they cautioned that Biden was going to do, they said would lead to World War III and nuclear Armageddon. Now they're doing that and some. Deep strikes, 2,000-kilometer range drones, counter-value targets hitting wild berries targets, hitting oil refineries every single day. And then he met with Xi Jinping. Remember, they put the war on hold? You remember this? It's crazy. It's all right there. They put the war on hold in May. He goes, he shakes Xi Jinping's hand. It's a big fucking nothing burger, as I predicted. And then, of course, what happens next? They restart the war like clockwork. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? Maybe this time it's going to work. No, this is that, they're a one-trick pony. This is all he knows how to do, is go and meet people and talk a bunch of shit and bloviate and bluster about nothing to no end on social media to no consequential effect. And so that's exactly what's going to happen here. If he does meet with Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un, the North Koreans just made a statement today that they condemn the U.S. exercises with South Korea, despite the American claim, or Trump's claim, that he is drawing down assets in that region because Kim is his best buddy or some shit like that. And of course, people are going to eat it up. And then he's going to say, I ended another war. Anyways, okay, so it's all connected. If you didn't watch my video yesterday about how the El Nino and the climate stop factors in here, it's all connected, baby. And it should go without saying at this point that you got to have a plan with your family. If you just consume this doom news all day and you're not doing nothing to prep, there are people who just talk about this shit all day and they don't have a plan, which is baffling to me. How you can listen to the circuit, all the usual suspects, like myself and all my cohorts, Larry Johnson and Stanislav and Mark Sloboda and everybody in the space, Scott Ritter, all these guys. And if you're not a prepper at this point, I just don't know. You're a masochist. Okay, you're a masochist. Stop doing it. Just turn it off and go and live your life. But if you are going to listen to it, just have some applied methodology for how you're going to deal with the situation when the shit hits the fan. Okay, so there's so much to talk about here. So much. I got 15 pages of notes. Now, let's just dive in here. The UAE has suspended all commercial and financial transactions with Iran until further notice following Iranian attacks on targets inside the UAE. Now, Iran is claiming that they did not fire missiles. So, this really, are they just trying to maintain strategic ambiguity? The what do they call it? The terminology escapes me. Plausible deniability. That's what I'm looking for. Who knows what they're trying to do? Were they trying to attack vessels? That seems like the most likely explanation. The Iranians were trying to target vessels that may have fallen within UAE waters, and that was construed as attacking the country, which essentially it is. And so now economic ties with Tehran have been completely suspended. So if you live in Dubai and you just got into the real estate market, I would exercise extreme amounts of caution, because we're now back into the realm of geo-economic warfare, and that always precedes something kinetic. Iran has shifted to a full offensive posture. This is yesterday's news, but it bears repeating. Tehran has repeatedly given Washington only weeks to lift the naval blockade and implement its demands, warning that failure could trigger a timely and precise military escalation. Now, the only reason why this would be true is to be very uncharacteristic of the Iranians to instigate a fight in this way, unless the economic stranglehold that the U.S. has with this blockade is actually taking its toll and creating such immiserating circumstances that the people there are genuinely getting concerned with food inflation and other things. Because, of course, this prevents Iran from being able to export its oil in the amounts that would be required to prevent the shut-ins of wells. So this is very problematic. Now, I don't doubt that there's some shenanigans going on in the Persian Gulf where the Iranian vessels are fueling up, maybe at Karg Island, even though it's few and far between that we see that happening, but where oil is basically being laundered in some way on the high seas. Maybe that's happening. Then again, the strategic oil reserve around the world continues to decline. So we know there is a deficit, despite what they say about the leaky faucet in the Strait of Hormuz, and what Chris Wright says about the oil that's escaping the Iranian blockade, it starts to look like indeed that there is a huge oil deficit that continues to this day. And because demand is unchanged, because people are still, driving their cars, enjoying their summer as they normally would, prices haven't gotten too crazy out of control. That's not the case with diesel, but with gasoline anyways, at least in North America, people are living their best life for the most part. Yeah, it's pricey, but it's not to the effect that you're going to cancel your vacation plans over. If it was, then it's very likely that that strategic oil reserve would last a lot longer. And therein lies the strategy of Iran, I must reiterate, because I know this might be the first video that some people have watched. It occurred to me a couple weeks ago, and I credit some of this to Chris Martenson. I don't want this to be a state of cryptomnesia where I think I created an idea, but I actually heard it somewhere else. I think it was a combination of a variety of things that I heard from Randy and Chris Martenson and myself, my own individual thoughts. But the gist of it is that the Iranians are trying to keep demand at the exact same level and continue to deplete the strategic oil reserve at the same time, so they get maximum leverage as we approach operational bottoms with the oil supply. Okay, so the Iran is moving towards military escalation. Now, I don't know how you explain this type of brinkmanship, but it seems like they're, I don't want to say desperate, but I don't think they would do that for no reason. There's got to be something that's happening on the back channels that we don't particularly see, or we don't see the extent of the economic damage taking its toll. And while Iran is what's called an autarky, in that they're able to be largely self-sustaining because the sanctions have, made them very strong and independent. And this is something I argued years ago. Sanctions actually make countries stronger. They make them independent because you have to do everything for yourself. And at first, you don't have that comparative advantage. So everything you do more or less is a really shitty version of the best thing. Like, some of these Russian cars that are coming out have all kinds of problems because, they can't get, the best parts from certain places of the world. Nonetheless, over time, you fix those things. And so they've learned, and they've taken all their licks. They've suffered for years and years in order to build these indigenous systems. And there you go. So Iran is preparing what they claim to be preemptive strikes. Iranian planners reportedly expanded target list to the U.S., Israeli, and Gulf economic infrastructure, including possible attacks on undersea internet cables, which of course would create disruptions around the world that likely would be felt here. Never mind just the fertilizer issue and the diesel and oil. Obviously, it's also going to affect the grid as well, the internet. The Houthis targeted Aramco once again with drones, claiming retaliation for Saudi violations. And indeed, they also targeted a ship in the Strait of Hormuz that they completely destroyed. In response to all of this, Saudi has activated their naval coalition that involves multiple countries. Many of them I don't even think have boats. So I don't see how they're going to collectively securitize. And with any of these alliances or coalitions, every country is always giving its scraps. And that's the problem with any heterogeneous assortment of countries and interests, is that you can have, like Europe, 500 million and a $30 trillion combined GDP, but you don't have the homogeneity that the Russians have, even though they have less, arguably, population, less money to throw at the problem. They're unified. And so you can do a lot more with, I'm going to have to think of a good metaphor to try to explain this, but, if you have a well-oiled, cohesive machine, it's going to function a lot better than this skeleton crew of miscellaneous parts and this and that. Russia is allegedly arming Iran through the Caspian Sea. Now, we've heard these rumors for some time. Apparently now there's some solid evidence that this is happening. I mean, it should be expected. They're helping reconstitute the Iranian military, reportedly moving explosive drone components and ammunition through the Caspian Sea to help Tehran rebuild stockpiles damaged by the U.S. and Israeli strikes. We already seen the fronts merge with that attack by Ukraine on an Iranian vessel. The Ukrainians have now refrained from targeting more ships, so we'll see if that flares up once again. I talked already about the ship that was hit. The most recent one was a merchant vessel operating in the Omani corridor, which was struck, suffered damage and casualties, and that one was actually under heavy U.S. air protection at the time. So again, I don't know how these ships are being insured, or if whoever is insuring these ships, which is the United States, I presume, that's inflationary, right? Because not only do they have to pay ungodly amounts of money to have all of these assets in the space, billions of dollars a day, I would say, probably when you take into account the entire picture, not only do they have to pay for that, but they also have to pay for the insurance when the ships still get hit. So, that's all at the taxpayer's expense. So you might see a certain price at the gas pump, but you have to factor into that the national debt is going to increase as a consequence of these military expenditures on these misadventures. A cargo vessel near Yemen's MAGA was struck by multiple projectiles, suffering catastrophic damage. So the literal warfare continues. China is pulling tankers from the region. China's shipping giants Costco and CMES have reportedly halted tanker movements through both Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb. Together, they control more than 100 VLCCs, very large crude carriers, and previously carried a major share of China's Middle Eastern crude imports. So the multipolar deglobalization continues. Red Sea threat reroutes Saudi oil, so now they're trying to go through Europe. That's going to that's not going to work, not to the extent that they need it to work. Trump is saying that they're ending all diplomacy with Iran. There are no talks or negotiations scheduled with Iran, insists that the U.S. naval blockade remains fully in effect, while claiming Hormuz remains open and mines have been cleared. Obviously, some of that is bullshit. Maybe the mines have been cleared, but of course, ships are still being hit. So we're back into this maximalist mode. And I don't see how anybody thinks that anything is going to come out of this but a full-blown blindside attack. He's ordered the talks to be halted completely, and they're now switching towards, so they claim, a sustained economic and military pressure campaign designed to gradually force Iran towards U.S. terms, which, of course, will never and won't work, as I've previously articulated. So that sort of strategic strangulation is likely going to be insufficient to bring the Iranians to heel, which means they must be planning, like if they're saying we're going to do something broad like that, broadband, they're going to do something narrow and high frequency and precise. If they're saying we're going to do something precise like Karg Island, then you can bet that they're planning in the broadband spectrum. The U.S. is weighing a nuclear strike. Reports say a sudden strike on Iran's Kui-Kalang facility, which is their word for, which is what Pickaxe Mountain is called, is being seriously examined by Washington. Iran has warned retaliation for any attack on nuclear facilities would extend beyond a purely military response. What could they possibly mean by that? An attack on nuclear facilities would extend beyond a purely military response. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure what they could possibly mean because, cyber security would fall under the rubric of military. And so unless they're talking about everything would be arguably under the umbrella of what would constitute military, unless they have some other economic, unless they're referring to attacks on various critical infrastructure throughout the Middle East. Marjorie Taylor Greene claims U.S. strategy meetings have included discussion of lowering the nuclear threshold. We talked about the doctrinal shift that recently took place with the alterations to the nuclear posture review. I believe that was back in 2022, where they broadened the terms in which a nuclear weapon could be utilized in combat, essentially on a nation state that is non-nuclear armed. Now, this should be a no-brainer considering they used one on Japan in World War II and they never had nukes. But of course, this is for the modern day, and it suggests that it gives them more latitude for potential use of tactical nuclear weapons, low yield, minimum radiation nuclear weapons in order to take apart these missile cities, which at the end of the day are the primary sticking point, not the only sticking point, but that's the big one. From a strategic point of view, if you can collapse the missile cities and if you can collapse Pickaxe Mountain and these various bunkers that they have throughout the country, then you may have some shot in the dark of actually doing a military invasion. But short of that, it likely is not going to happen. Now, because people are so gullible and naive, especially the people who still believe that Donald Trump is what he claims that he is, they could get away with using nuclear weapons. And I would bet that a significant portion of Trump voters will be sold on the line that if we hadn't done it, they would have nuked us or some dumb, brainless shit like that. And so they're probably, they know that if they're ever going to do it, Trump is the only guy, I think, at least for now, in the current climate, who can get away with it with just enough people in the population that, there wouldn't be a coup in the United States. So what are they going to do? Well, look, these underground facilities are solid granite. It's one of the hardest materials, and it's very likely that even with put on any bunker busting deployment system, you're only going to penetrate a few feet, maybe a few meters of this very, very hard rock, and then you're going to presumably drop put a nuclear weapon underground, detonate it subsurface, which would have the effect of irradiating the space and making it somewhat inaccessible, but it's not going to completely collapse the structure. And of course, anybody who's still in the structure would be protected against the gamma and alpha beta radiation that was left in the wake of such an attack. But if you could irradiate the above ground space so it was inaccessible to such an extent that even with PPE, you couldn't get into the facility, then that's the only way you render those facilities inoperable. And I actually think a dirty bomb, something that was more localized in its effect, might be utilized, because you don't even need a nuclear explosion. You just need to find where all the entrances are and put a bunch of radioactive dust, and then it would take them months, if not years, to clean all that up. I'm not saying I advocate this. I'm just trying to, think in the ways of the dark arts like these guys think. It could be that they're going to just drop so much ordnance. I can't remember. I did the calculations once, and it was something to the extent of you would need in the megatonnage in order to collapse these facilities that are buried under 100 to 300 meters of granite. Like, using a tactical nuke sub 300 kilotons is just not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So if they're going to do it, and maybe they're just putting the feelers out there to test public opinion, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of pushback. There is in the geopolitical commentator circuit, but above and beyond that, it's crickets. So I would not be surprised if they're ever going to initiate nuclear use. It's going to be there. People saying, yeah, but then Russia and China are going to do something. No, they aren't. They're not going to do anything. They're going to condemn, and maybe they'll be more inclined to use nukes on their own turf or against Iran if the U.S. breaks that threshold of nuclear use. But they're not going to go to nuclear Armageddon over Iran. Unfortunately, they're just not going to do it. And but there is many rungs up the escalation ladder from that point which would make it a very intractable situation that very well could cause them to want to leverage nuclear weapons. Just the fact that they would be on a much higher state of alert after that, and that's when the likelihood of accidents happening increases drastically. The U.S. is expanding Tomahawk output. The U.S. Navy has signed a 7-year, $22 billion Raytheon contract as Washington moves to dramatically expand long-range Tomahawk production. They're going to produce 1,000 of these missiles annually. Now, again, we don't know. All this information is classified. Everyone I talk to about this claims that the U.S. is running out of missiles, and they reference data that the Pentagon themselves have put out over the years. But nobody really ultimately knows how many weapons they have left. After all, war is a racket. There's a lot of money to be made. So there's a vested interest in downplaying their assets, not only because that's in line with the art of war doctrine, which says appear weak when you're actually strong, but also because that means you can get $22.9 billion contracts, singular contracts with Raytheon for 1,000 missiles annually. Now, everyone's going to say, well, they're never going to make that target. You know, you'd be surprised. When it's a question of how and not why, it's always easy to overcome. There's going to be technologies coming online with AI and automation that very well could be the saving grace for U.S. military industrialization and mobilization moving forward, and will allow them to scale their arsenal. And it would be timely that that would occur during deglobalization because, of course, you no longer need cheap labor if you have robots doing anything, which is why I think, I hate to say it, but Tesla is going to shock the world again with the humanoid robot they're making, because they're really putting a lot of money into the hand, as Elon says. The phalanges is what is the sticking point. If you can figure that out, you can pretty much get a robot to do a lot of things, because they've already mastered the gross motor skills. It's the fine motor skills, and then they start training these robots, and then 5 years or so from now, you have robots walking around just like you have Tesla self-driving. They're going to employ the Tesla vision into the robot. That's the whole scheme. It's all going to make sense soon. And I don't even think it was the brainchild of Musk. I think it was something much bigger. He's just the Tony Stark poster boy, the delivery system, the chaser for the alcohol, something to help make the medicine go down. The medicine being, draconian technology and robot overlords. Syria admits nuclear material. Israeli Channel 12 reports that Syria has acknowledged possessing nuclear material following a mysterious overnight strike, and now says the material will remain inside the country despite earlier plans for removal. What? Okay. That's interesting. The Israelis are right now bombing the shit out of Lebanon, by the way. So, I mean, everything is just over. There's no more MOU. That's done. There's no more ceasefire. It's done. And oil, I'm looking at it, it's still $85. Wow. They're going to be books written on crowd herd mentality when this whole thing is said and done. Okay, now, ado with Russia and Ukraine. So NATO's conducting an impromptu, I believe this is an impromptu because we didn't hear anything about a major exercise. I could be mistaken about this, but get a load of this. They're conducting one of its largest air power demonstrations over Poland and the Baltic region in years, with reports of more than 50 aircraft airborne simultaneously and additional support aircraft operating without visible transponders. The concentration follows warnings of a possible Russian provocation. All right. So is this some type of forward deployment that we're now seeing? Are they actually getting ready to do something in Europe? Crazier things have happened. The actual concentration could be larger because only some supporting aircraft are going to have their active transponders on. No exercise of this scale was announced in advance. So we're seeing rapid force aggregation now in the Baltics. And this comes after all kinds of rumors from Western media that the Russians are planning on attacking NATO in some capacity in response to the deep strikes that are being co-facilitated by the NATO supply of drones and ISR to the Ukrainians. So also, Kaliningrad is allegedly encircled. A major NATO aerial operation is underway around Russia's Kaliningrad exclave involving reconnaissance platforms and fighter aircraft. This activity follows reports of Russian hypersonic-capable warships and military shipments moving throughout the Baltic. I believe it was Doomberg who recently reminded me of the situation developing in Finland, which, of course, I reported on, I don't know, probably a month ago now. They had closed up the border and they're building military bases. And basically you have, a stone's throw away from, people forget this, like I forgot, that the Finns said that they're going to be bringing in NATO nukes. So literally you could see St. Petersburg from some parts of Finland, and these guys are going to be hosting nukes, and they have F-35s, okay? And so we're seeing aviational activity in the North Sea, allegedly tracking Russian nuclear submarines. So something strange is going on. The Barents Sea, that's the sea that they're currently surveilling with rivet joints to try to find Russian nuclear submarines. So something strange is percolating in that region. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see, because we've seen all of these near misses with Moldova. How many times have missiles in the last month or so fallen in the adjacent intermarium countries, Russian missiles, and sometimes I guess it's Ukrainian drones as well. But Europe is being slowly brought more and more into this conflict. The most recent one was a missile that crashed inside Moldova. They reported that a Russian cruise missile entering national airspace. So this is a cruise missile now. So this is not a drone. This is not some errant, dumb, cheap drone. Cruise missiles are expensive. And for one of those to go awry is saying something. Is that just spillover, or was this a shot across the bow from Putin? Is this their way of saying, look, we know what you're doing, we know what you're getting ready to do, and we're going to keep you on your toes and make sure that you don't attempt anything, and we know that you know that we know type thing, right? Russia reportedly prepares NATO strike infrastructure, according to the Telegraph. Okay, so take this one with a big grain of salt. Reports that Russia is developing secret launch positions near NATO borders capable of reaching the Baltics, Finland, and critical Polish infrastructure. Ukraine launched a record 822 drones. That was 2 days ago, I believe, and they've now extended their drone range to 2,000 kilometers with the new Dobush T-40 having a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers, which puts Western Siberia within Ukrainian reach. That's just unbelievable power projection for Iran. U.S.-Ukraine intel is deepening. Remember, he said he was going to end the war in 24 hours? Well, U.S. intelligence support has reportedly returned to high levels, including assistance with targeting packages for Ukrainian long-range strikes. So the fusion and the integration of the U.S. militaries with its vassals continues unabated, not just with Israel, where it's now about to be codified into law, but with Ukraine, de facto anyways. Turkey is on Russia's shit list for transferring ATACMS missiles to Ukraine. Xi is planning to visit Washington in September, and there's going to be all this brouhaha and summitry around that and pomp and pageantry, and nothing will happen. Nothing will amount to it. The trade war will continue. And I'm curious to know if that is to just try to hold Xi in place so he doesn't do anything while Trump pulls the other aircraft carrier into CENTCOM to restart the Iran war. I'm getting wars confused now. Taiwan, Iran. Okay, so yeah, I think that this might just be a clever way to, kind of keep Xi simmering, and give him something to look forward to. But, the Chinese, I guess they have their plans for when they're going to attack, but the absence of an aircraft carrier, presuming you can do some blitzkrieg maneuver, that could drastically increase your chances, or at least make it a little bit more frictionless. An aircraft carrier in itself is not really going to necessarily prevent the Chinese from doing something, and whether or not the US would get directly involved anyways, because that of course has nuclear implications. So, there's a lot of angles to consider there. I talked about the SPR. It is now at 293.4 million barrels. It fell 5.3 million barrels. So people had said prior that, 300 was the operational bottom. I mean, some of this oil has been in there for decades. Now, oil doesn't go bad, obviously, but, we're reaching the point of potential erosion, not just of the inventory itself, but of the actual caverns that house this stuff. And it really starts to look like they're setting us up for the mother of all disasters as you have this confluence of things which are co-amplifying climate, El Nino, energy shortages, fertilizer shortages, war, busting up the northern sea route, the Arctic ice. I mean, it's all just interconnected, and it would really be cool to see like an AI visualization of my 10 Cs. And I'm going to see if I can get one of my guys on that, because people really have to, most people are visual learners, I think. And, it helps if you can visually make a picture and illustrate how fucked we are. Diesel supply risks are intensifying. Heavy and sour crude shortages can increasingly force refineries towards lighter grades, potentially reducing diesel yields. So we have distillate scarcity. 30-year yield continues to hit new highs. So, all the bond yields are going higher and higher. What are they at right now? I don't know what they're at today. Nobody's really talking about it. But that means that, the interest on the debt and on everything, I think U.S. housing purchases are the lowest they've ever been in history. The 10-year yield continues its ascent towards 5%, which, 40 years ago in the Paul Volcker age wouldn't have seemed like much, because we didn't have all this debt. And you could buy a house for a year's annual wage. Excuse me. Not anymore. And the markets are still, puffed up. Markets show historically little broad selling, reportedly on pace for 80% plus NYSE downside volume days, an unprecedented level of market resilience. So everybody's in la la land, right? Food insecurity, EU corn supply shock looms. They're in a nasty drought over there in Europe. So on top of paying more because they shot themselves in the foot and blew up Nord Stream, they now aren't getting enough supplies from the Middle East, and they're now totally beholden to the United States. They're dealing with a drought. They're dealing with migration issues, and it's all just falling apart. And in that climate, everybody's looking at the AfD in Germany and thinking they're going to be the salvation of sanity. No, that's how you get World War II. That's what's going to trigger. That's what people don't get. It's going to start off as we're going to make friends with the Russians, and before you know it, mark my words. Remember where you heard this first. Remember where you heard this one, guys. The AfD will lead the charge against Russia. That's how they're going to do it. That's the 4D chess move. Trust me. Just trust me on this. I've thought about that one for years, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Anyways, that's it. Go through the links in the description if you want to support the channel. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, tell us a joke.
Call my 9/11 the way is behind it.
Call me Tower 7 the way I go down without any questions asked.
Jones, you challenged me. I'm here. Let's hash this out. Good. The MAGA divide is killing us. Let's start with Charlie Kirk. It was a tragedy, but we can't let it divide us. And Israel's war is a quagmire. Trump must pivot. He's trying. The midterms are key. We need unity. The DSA is infiltrating. We must expose them. I agree. Let's unite the right. Alex Jones, I accept your challenge. Let's hash out our disagreements over the MAGA divide, live on air. Good. Let's start with the Charlie Kirk assassination. It was a deep state hit. That's a conspiracy theory. The evidence points to a lone gunman. What about the Iran war quagmire? That's the real threat. Iran is a problem, but we need a united front. Trump must focus on the 2026 midterms. We must unite the right now.
I guarantee you, and I'm challenging right now, Tim Pool to come on and debate me. If there's no money involved, he obviously won't do it. If there is some money, he can't control himself. I'm sure he will. If he thinks there's like a nickel or something involved. But Jeremy from the Quartering will come on and debate me. And I like Jeremy, been on his show off and on for years. And I appreciate him coming on. But I think the main thing he does is hides behind that he's just crap posting or it's just a joke. But he said maybe the Pakistani bots are asleep when I was talking about the big live streaming glitch on X. It was confirmed to be a glitch that they fixed by Monday morning. Alex, is a daily viewer, I have personally tuned out since you've been on this Jews killed Charlie Kirk nonsense. I'll tune back in when you come back to your senses. Well, again, they're all playing on that glitch with me pointing it out that was affecting all live streamers, saying you're not popular. No, it's the war. It's the economy in deep trouble. It's Israel trying to take control of our Congress and trying to run our foreign policy. That's what's unpopular. I don't want my main issue to be Israel. I'm all over the Muslims. I'm not in the Red-Green Alliance. But Israel is bragging that it's primarying people in Congress. It's bragging that Netanyahu wrote the subsection of the NDAA 219 that literally merges them with our military. So that's where I stand. And I'm going to play a short clip before we go to Jeremy of The Quartering, thequartering.com, on X, The Quartering, on Rumble, The Quartering, popular show. And I do think, I did watch this morning while I was working out, part of it, him and Rex last night debating, and I'll tell Rex, I appreciate him defending me, but I think he's being a little mean, and we're obviously a little mean, all of us, but we can't be so mad at people we disagree with. When we agree with them, I'd say on 95% of stuff. And that's what I've been saying the whole time when Trump called me low IQ and burnout and all these attacks. That doesn't make me mad. It makes me mad that he's siding with never Trumpers who have almost no viewers now, like Ben Shapiro, and it's going to make us lose the midterms. And the war is literally cutting off energy and the fertilizer. And now J.P. Morgan and others say we're going to have a global food crisis and mass migrant floods. I just think multi-level stages in, it's kind of a curse I have, I guess. It's how I think. Talk about 3D chess. We're doing it here. That's how we predict tomorrow's news today. But here's some reporters breaking down the fact that it's very destructive to have the Israel First lobby come in, become Trump's brain, and then attack everybody that questioned the war. And a lot of them got emotional and did overcorrect and basically have become Democrat apologists at some levels in all of this. But I'm not those people, and I'm not mad at them. I know why they overcorrected. I'm literally trying to defeat the globalists and the Red-Green Alliance and the Chi-Coms and the New World Order. And now in the power vacuum, we got the Israel trying to flood him with Netanyahu to take full control when he's so unpopular even in Israel. So here's clip 16, and we'll go to Jeremy of The Quartering.
So don't worry, Tucker, you can come back. Don't worry, Joe, you can come back. Don't worry, Marjorie, you can come back. Don't worry, Thomas, you can come back. Don't worry, Alex, you can come back. Don't worry, Marjorie, you can come back. What do all these people have in common? They're either OG MAGA or they represent what was truly new MAGA in 24, and they brought along the numbers that got us a winning coalition. You know, all of these other people out there, they dismiss these criticisms and these people fracturing off. You act like you had a 10-point popular vote win or something. You don't. And let me just give everybody a little bit of a stat, and then I'll kick it back to you, because this is real, and these people can destroy the Republican Party if they choose to do so. So instead of, mocking them and making fun of them, you should be trying to figure out how to court them back, because you chase them away for a tiny parasitic sliver of the coalition. Neocons are nothing. They're literally dying right in front of our faces, people. Lindsey Graham just corked off out of nowhere. Mitch McConnell is still alive, but he's not, okay? They're literally dying in front of our face, and you're sacrificing the future coalition, the future of America, our future ability to win elections for these dinosaurs who are going extinct. And the truth is, the comet has been heading to Earth for years. They just never saw it coming because they're too stupid and too old to see it. So
I don't know who that guy is, but he's smart and I want him on. But I don't want to be back at the cool table. I mean, quite frankly, Democrats get back in there trying to put me in prison. I'm not course corrected on Trump because of that, but it's a nice fringe byproduct that they might not be as energetic to put me in prison as they were last time. But they will, because I'm going to come after him. I'm not going to do softball interviews with Hunter Biden. So bringing in Jeremy of The Quartering, popular YouTube and Rumble commentator with millions of subscribers and owner of the coffee brand, coffee.com, and a apolitical coffee company seeking just to get people great coffee. So we're plugging for you, thequartering.com. And I like his show. I like his clips, though if he's not taking Israeli money and not meeting with the prime minister of Israel secretly, and I'm not saying he certainly is regurgitating the points, or maybe he just agrees with them. So, Jeremy, good to have you on with us.
Thanks, Alex. It's an honor to be on your show, and I appreciate you taking the time to have me on today and to discuss perhaps a small disagreement that we have. I think you're right. We agree on 98% of things, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity to try and hopefully refocus people, because I think there's a lot of infighting right now going on the right, whatever form of the right you want to talk about. And, you know, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated brutally, it was a real opportunity to finally defeat the left. And instead, it seems like the right is more focused on infighting in certain foreign countries. And that's why I'm here. I want to try to hopefully realign together before complete disaster with the midterms and then the 2028 election.
I agree with that. And, you know, early on, because the trannies were saying they were going to kill him and they celebrated, and George Zinn jumped up and, you know, diverted and all that, and a bunch of them turned around instantly cheering. They knew. I was like, no, I don't think it's Israel, and I still can't prove that. That's the majority of people, I think that. And then I get called an Israeli operative for saying, come on, let's look at everything here. But then I learned about Kash Patel killing investigations into foreign involvement from other sources, later directly from Joe Kent, the head of counterterrorism. And then just everything else. I don't know what happened. I just don't buy the story. And I even told TPUSA highest levels early on, I said, have you asked Kash Patel about the 10 post in the 3 days before in the town saying he'll be dead when he comes here? And then they celebrated it. And he said, yeah, we think they might have known, but we can't convict them, so we're not going to go after him. Well, there's the proof. So why did Kash Patel do that? So I'm in the middle here, not on purpose. I'm usually decisive, but this is such a quagmire, such chaos, that I've criticized a lot of the stuff Candace has said, Egyptian planes and Fort Huachuca, and I get called, you know, but then I've also criticized, you know, people saying, oh, no, it's all open and shut when there's a lot of problems. I mean, so that's where I'm at.
Well, I think where I'm coming from, and obviously the bot conversation was not about you. The comment was not about you specifically, and sometimes that gets lost in translation on places like X. It's about anything, you know, Israel bad seems to be heavily bought on X. I have no evidence of that, but that's just my
there's
opinion
definitely forces pushing the anti. The Russians are, the Chinese are, Qatar spends $40 billion a year on propaganda. That's going on. So yeah, I mean, definitely the anti-Israel stuff does get pushed.
Well, my concern is that it's being pushed to do exactly this. Now, I find this opportunity, which I'm very grateful for, as a blessing, because it's my hope that maybe we can work together to point out the fact that there very clearly is a concerted effort to divide the right. Now, you've gone from a staunch Trump supporter to somebody who's been critical of him, and I think many of the criticisms you've laid at the Trump administration's feet is valid. I don't support Trump attacking you, calling you low IQ or whatever stupid personal attacks he gave out, and you're right to be mad about that. But I'm concerned that you're getting a little, like, when you tweeted, I believe Israel was involved, has that changed? Do you still believe that Israel was involved? Because I think that is the core wedge issue on the right now, when we should be focusing on the left, who is laying back and continues to be demonic and continues to want us dead. And they are just gathering power across this country. We see Muslims winning elections in Michigan. Texas is being overrun by Muslims. You guys are having more Islamic foot washing stations in there. People aren't talking about that. They're talking about, you know, whether or not the Jews killed Charlie Kirk.
Well,
which
I am talking about Islamic. I am talking about Islamic foot washing stations and the giant Islamic invasion.
You are
of Spain.
Yeah.
And then when I do, people go, why aren't you just attacking Israel? I cover China. I cover Israel. I cover the UK trying to pass internet ID laws in the US. I'm against any foreign group manipulating our country.
Me too. Me too. But I think when you say stuff like people are mad at me when I say this, it makes me concerned that you're worried about what people think. And that's not the old Alex Jones I know. I think you were on the right path when you were debunking a lot of this crazy conspiracy theories. There's zero evidence connecting Israel. Look, I'm sure they've done a lot of bad stuff. I'm not a pro-Israel guy. I think we're both the same here. I'm America first, America only. I don't care about Israel. I don't care about Qatar. I don't care about Germany. I care about American citizens in America, just like those people in Israel, Qatar, and Germany would care about their own citizens. But I have a problem. I have a real concern with people getting sucked in to what I believe is a concerted effort to divide the right. And I feel like some people are getting sucked into it because they see all the interaction and they see how popular this stuff is on X. And so they think, well, maybe I'm wrong. They gaslight themselves because, the bot army, I mean, who benefits from dividing the right now? And that's what we should really be asking ourselves, not whether or not Candace Owens' absurd lies about Tyler Robinson are true or not. She should be ignored completely because she is clearly driven to destroy the right and perpetrating her narrative, which is, of course, exclusively, anybody who's looking at this honestly, is that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. She's had a bunch of offshoots from that, but that is the core tenet of what she is claiming. And that is why I believe it's also artificially inflated on multiple places.
Okay, well,
Even
I'm just being
Hassan
honest
Piker.
when I point out, we'll get to Hassan Piker in a moment, frothing communist, Islamicist. But I just call the balls and strikes. So when you say people get pissed off at me at one thing or the other, I don't care, but I do mention what people are saying because I'm into what the population thinks. So any implication that I go with what pressure is the opposite. I neurotically do whatever I believe is real. There's not even, my brain doesn't ever think about pulling back from pressure. In fact, I tend to go into pressure. But that said, people go, well, what's up? You expose Israel financing all this propaganda in America, and you expose the other. Which side are you on? I'm on the side of being aware of this. So, yeah, it's known that Qatar spends all this money. It's known these other people do, but so does Israel, is my point. And then you've got Tim Pool saying Alex must have gotten the call. Well, I'm wondering, he needs a name from who? Because I didn't get a call, as Tim admits, from Netanyahu to meet secretly with him. And then when it came out, Tim said, yeah, I did meet, but it's secret what we said, Chatham House rules. So nobody's got me meeting with people secret. No one can find it. If they ever do, it's AI. It's not real. I am funded by the listeners. I mean, I can even get a lot of great sponsors, but quite frankly, I'm so busy. You got to court them. You got to jack with it. It's a big hassle. I'd rather just sell cool stuff and not jack around with a bunch of sponsors.
Hey, Coffee Brand Coffee would sponsor you, man.
Well, let's go. So, but the whole point is that oh, and I will tell you, I like your little thing claiming Rex, my son, who I love and is really smart. You think Rex tells me what to say? You think Rex is my Gormer Worm Tongue or whatever his name is?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's Rex, but I'm just relaying also, just like you, I read.
So you're saying what Tim said, I get a call. I get calls.
No, I don't think you got a call. I think that if most people watching you would agree with me when I say that you took a hard 180 about a few months ago. Now,
well, the only calls I listen to are the hot women. I mean, seriously,
I'm sure
there's nobody. No, I'm joking. No, of course not.
You look great, Alex. By the way,
the point is, thank you. You look great too. The point is that I'm not getting calls from politicos because they know it goes into a black hole. Okay,
I believe you. I believe you 100%. But when you look at the public perception, and perception is reality, and I believe that you are a truthful man. And that you're just following your gut. People are allowed to change their opinions. People are allowed to, wholeheartedly support Trump.
But I have mixed feelings about Israel. I'm not for the Muslims. I don't want to blow Israel up, but I also don't want Israel claiming I'm a terrorist, need to be taken off the air, the Netanyahu crowd. I mean, yes. I understand Netanyahu is only one permutation of Israel. I get that.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to explain he got the call thing. I think Tim was probably being tongue-in-cheek there, although I can't speak for him. But I'm saying that there is a perception that Alex Jones has changed, and you can read it in the comments. You read your comments, whether it doesn't matter. People say, oh, like when I came out and said Candace Owens is literally demonically possessed. By the way, an opinion we both shared at one point. I lost a lot of viewers. A lot of people called me all sorts of names. They said I was funded by Israel. I get the same nonsense that you do with that. Now, nobody on the planet is under the level of stress and attack that Alex Jones is and your team and your company. And I have defended you for an extremely long time, and I will continue to do so regardless of how this conversation goes, because you're the greatest of all time that's ever done this. You're allowed to change your opinion, but the perception is reality. And the perception is there was a hard turn a few months ago, and people are just trying to understand that, because a lot of us have followed you for many, many years through thick and thin. You've been right about way more than you've ever been wrong about. But people are concerned when it looks like, and again, perception is just reality, when you're boosting Candace Owens' theories and you're talking about that. I get now that you've added the context. You're saying, hey, I don't know. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But let me ask you, as of today, from vacillating back and forth because you're unsure, what do you believe is more likely? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson, a trans dating leftoid who engraved the bullets like every trans shooter in history, do you believe that he killed Charlie Kirk or that Israel did or the Jews?
Whenever I said I think Israel factors into it at some point, if the U.S. government did it, I don't think they would do that on our soil without the U.S. government involved, kind of like 9/11, where the stand down bare minimum was Netanyahu was in power at the time and George W. Bush. And so, you know, the two kind of worked in concert, at least with the official story blaming Iraq, you know, that's now come out that they knew wasn't true. And so when I said $10,000 if you can show me saying the Jews killed Charlie Kirk, I never said that. I said clearly now I think Israel in some permutation in the politics of this is involved because the text messages that were released of him, you know, saying Israel's mad at me, the Jewish lobby is mad at me. But if you want to know why I'm upset at Trump, it's that sea of red, future slide as market wakes up to soaring bond yields and diesel prices. Agriculture commodity prices break out as JP Morgan food crisis warning gets louder. Foreign holdings of U.S. Treasuries fall in June, led by Japan, UK, China. I mean, this U.S. housing starts plummet in July, 12+%. I mean, this ain't good. And this is what economists told me was going to happen if we did this war. So I am pissed about the fact that Trump's economic recovery plan was the best. That's why I was a total cheerleader. And then when he started getting off of that, I've gotten really, really, really upset about America is on the verge of bankruptcy, and this war alone will derail that. And now we're seeing not just that as a prediction, it's now coming true.
I totally agree with you. Even I started out more of a, well, you blow up a few things and move on. This is going to be whatever. And now it's dragged out much longer, as you did predict. But my question remains, do you think that Israel was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination or not? That is, I think, what most people want to know.
I'm not dodging the question. No, I don't have any proof that Israel was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I said that early on, like 3 days in, they said Israel did it. And I said, we don't even know what happened here. And so what I know is the official story is not true. What I know is it's got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And then every time I cover real stuff, no one seems to care, both on, you know, the people defending the official story and then, you know, Candace Owens and them. Like, I was told by people in the cabinet meeting 6 days after they had a meeting, it was like 8 days after, it was 6 days after they had the meeting, that Patel comes in and says, we're not looking at foreign involvement. That's orders from Trump. We're not looking at domestic involvement. And it was later confirmed and came out. So I'm just saying, when you've got that, and the same FBI that said, oh, the Epstein killed himself and wasn't a human trafficker, those girlfriends in prison for it. And by the way, here's the unedited video, and it's all edited showing he killed himself. It doesn't show him kill himself. I'm just saying, I don't believe anything they say, so I'm not mad at people that don't believe it.
Yeah, that's where my position is too. I obviously believe this is just nonsense that a foreign country that Charlie Kirk was very clearly loyal to killed him. But we agree on that. We can move on from that. What I'm really curious about, if it's okay, if we can just have a talk as I'm not a peer, you're on a different level.
Oh, stop that! All humans are peers, and that's not going to get you. Seriously. No, sure. I'm just a regular guy, just like everybody else. My issue is I've really tried to call balls and strikes. The Charlie Kirk assassination gives me a headache because I can usually figure stuff out. The more I investigate, the more it gets confusing. This is a giant black hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are questions about the case that I hope will be answered at the actual trial. I myself did not believe we'd ever even get to the pretrial. I thought something would magically happen to him while he was in prison and we would never get answers. Yeah. And to me, I want to get your opinion. I know you've shared it before, but I'm curious. So you're a Christian man. You go to church just like I do. I've only recently found God back in, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I started going back to church and I haven't stopped since. In December, everybody was in agreement about this. What do you make of the larger picture of dividing the right? In my opinion, TPUSA, a Christian organization, Erica Kirk, a blameless victim in a horrific murder of her husband and the father of her children. What do you make of the people profiteering off of that, spreading things they know are not true, what do you think they're motivated by? Is it just clicks, or is it a genuine effort to divide the right? I'm so, when you say your head
let me be
hurts
100% clear. No, I hear you. Let me be 100% clear. There's propaganda from all angles. Erica Kirk, a week after he dies, in black hot leather pants with fireworks shooting off. Terrible look. I called them and told their head PR guy, this is a really bad idea. I said, what are you doing? There's no doubt TPUSA did a great job getting young voters registered to vote Republican. There's no doubt that the Democrats are having everybody on and boosting this, and Google is boosting it. And look, I'm still banned on YouTube. Nothing against Candace. She is not just on YouTube. She is boosted. So just
Why
because
do you think
that's
that
all,
is, Alex?
well, no. Just because I say all that on air, just because that's true doesn't mean I ignore all this. Is the left using this, and Trump and the FBI covering up what really happened? Yeah, but they're the ones that covered it up, that opened the door for this. I told TPUSA, come out and go after the accomplices. Go out and talk about the FBI cover-up. I told them this days after. I predicted all of this. I said this will bring down TPUSA, and they did not listen to me. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, Bigley has launched an online pharmacy, 1776rx.health. It's one product we're launching with, my decision, and that is ivermectin with benzidol, both powerful, really good anti-parasitics. It doesn't just get the big worms and all the crap that's out there. It's amoebas, it's microplasms. It is so important. These two together, I mean, ivermectin is a Nobel Prize winning for this, but benzidol is the big one. And folks, it isn't just parasites. Just search benzidol studies. Just put that into a search engine, and you'll see congressional hearings, you'll see top scientists, you'll see all the studies on what else it does that they don't want you to know about. It's dramatic. So, and you won't know if you had any type of parasitical deal or whatever until you've done this. And a lot of people went there yesterday. A lot of people got it. Very smart move. 1776rx.health. So I've said I don't see proof Israel killed Kirk. I do see proof that there were other people involved. There's a cover-up, so then you have to ask who has the motive, and Israel certainly did because he was changing his views on that, but so did the left wanted him dead. They said they were going to kill him. They celebrated it, and it's definitely been quite a turn of events that nobody talks about the left killing Kirk or celebrating the killing of Kirk because of the mishandling of this at TPUSA, which I find really hard to believe they are that tone deaf. But here's a little piece we put together on the eighth front war, the eighth front in the eighth front war that Netanyahu talked about. Then he met with Tim Pool, called him secretly and met, and Tim Pool later admitted, how to deal with the anti-Semitism, which means the anti-war. The rest of them have to deal with these podcasters because Israel admits they're losing the eighth front in the war. So they need to use the same energy they used on Hamas on the American people with exploding pagers. That's the head of the ADL. Here's a short compilation.
As you know, a seven-front war, and we've come out in many ways victorious, but there's an eighth front, and that's the front for the hearts and minds of people, especially young people in the West, and for me, especially in the United States, and for me, especially on the conservative wing of the United States. Social media, this is the new battlefield. This is the eighth front. The disinformation campaign is humongous. It takes a second for a lie to circulate the world, and then you have to battle it with the only weapon you have, which is the truth. So what Israel is fighting here is not merely a seven-front war, which I'll have to attend to in a few minutes, but an eighth-front war. It's the war, ultimately, of civilization against barbarism.
But we need the kind of genius that manufactured Apollo gold pagers and infiltrated Hezbollah for over a decade to prepare for this battle. We need the kind of courage that executed Operation Deep Layer inside Syria and destroyed Iranian missile manufacturing capabilities to undertake this mission.
Rome and Jerusalem clashed over values with a great tragedy for the Jewish people. But the new Rome, the United States,
we monitor them online, social media, messaging apps, video games, cryptocurrency, podcasts, short-form video, Wikipedia, LLM. We monitor these people and we share the intelligence with the FBI.
And I think it's not just Israel's battle. I think it's our common Judeo-Christian civilizational battle. And I think we We have to engage in that battle as forcefully, with as much resolution as we engage the other 7 fronts.
Christian influencers. Okay. You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people, you know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're loonies. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media.
So then Tim Pool comes out and met secretly with Netanyahu on the 8th Front War. He got caught. He says, I'm getting paid by somebody. He said, I got a call. I want to know by who, because I didn't. Going back to Jeremy of The Quartering, thequartering.com. Moving away from the black hole, this is Charlie Kirk assassination, so sad. We can get into that more if you want. Just in general, what do you think Trump should do to try to win the midterms and pivot away? I mean, obviously, in this war, well, Netanyahu doesn't want this war ended.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that Trump could do, but he's running out of time to do it. I think, as I mentioned earlier, perception is reality, and the cost of living, I think, is still more important to more everyday Americans than the Iran issue. I agree the Iran issue is a mess, but that is also contributing to the cost of living. He needs to get a resolution, obviously, as quick as possible, because the price of gas makes the price of everything, oil really. Oil is a part of almost everything we do, and it increases the prices and the cost of living. You mentioned the home prices to most Americans between 18 and 40, and I don't think this is an apolitical poll. The idea, the dream, the American dream of owning a home with a white picket fence seems impossible. And that's why you're seeing so many of these communists. We had one nearly win here in Wisconsin that won the Democratic nomination. And that's why I'm talking about what's most important to me is regalvanizing the biggest voices on the right. Now, I know the right is splintered, but he needs to figure out a way to get the Alex Joneses of the world and the Tucker Carlsons of the world and the Candace Owens of the world to either see that this is a real problem and focus on issues that Americans are really concerned about, or this fracturing is going to cost him the midterms and perhaps the Republicans at 2028 elections. Obviously, you know, there you can say whatever about J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio as the potential, runners there, but the midterms are not going to go well if things don't get more affordable. That's one of the biggest reasons Trump gets elected, right? Secure the borders. People want more deportations. You can't back down every time there's an optics issue, every time there's another illegal that, gets shot during a stop, he backs off on that. So we're together on that. I think Trump needs to redeploy ICE and stop caring what the media says. He needs to worry about cost of living, and whatever he does, he has to do it quickly because November is coming and it's coming fast. In terms of reuniting the right, I think big voices like you, someone who is a truth seeker, should be, hopefully will be more vocal about this op that is happening to divide the right. And we have people saying, I want to vote Democrat. Nick says vote Democrat. We can't do that because we can't take the worst option of the lesser of two evils just to stick it to somebody. That's not productive. So I'm hoping after our talk today that you will maybe prioritize the division of the right a little higher than some of the stuff that's currently dividing the right.
Well, I mean, the media focuses on certain things. I say I've been prioritizing getting Trump back, but you've seen all his statements about affordability is not real. I don't care about Americans' economic plight. I care about the war. I don't care about Medicare.
He's wrong
Medicaid.
about that.
His surrogates saying, who cares about $20 burritos? So I don't see Trump course correcting. I mean, if he doesn't course correct, and maybe there's no time with 2.5 months left, what do you think happens?
If he doesn't course correct, it will be a blue wave at the midterms, and we will lose the 2028 elections. Probably, as laughable as this is, to AOC. I mean, we see Democrat operatives like Hassan Piker coming around and supporting Candace Owens. Why? Specifically because she's divided the right. And if the right does not regalvanize, and I'm not a big fan of the big tent, but I'm a fan of it when it really matters, when we're talking about the midterms, when we're talking about presidential elections. And if we don't regalvanize and understand that while we're upset about these things, we're letting the other guys win, I just don't think that that's a winner strategy. I don't think checking out and getting blackpilled and having people putting out constant demoralizing Americans' content out there.
Well, there is a competition to show how anti-Trump you are. That's not what I've done. But at the same time, you can't cover up Epstein and say it doesn't exist and you're not MAGA if you believe it. I mean, look what just broke. Palm Beach County Clerk of Courts, Mike Caruso, arrested on child sex abuse charges. Mike Caruso, the Palm Beach County Clerk of Courts, the staunch ally of Florida Ron DeSantis, was charged Tuesday morning on charges linked to child sexual abuse of his grandson, state officials announced. And it just goes on. It just goes on from there. So, you know, Trump, MTG said it. He later said it. Oh, this would embarrass my friends. Ludnick is involved with Epstein, lied about it. Earlier this morning, with substantial assistance from the FDLE and local law enforcement, Palm Beach County Clerk of Court Michael Caruso was arrested on charges related to child sex abuse. The statement said the investigation is ongoing and we will provide more information to the public at the appropriate time. Why does this keep happening? Just because they control these people, they put them in charge. The suspension order indicated an arrest warrant out of Orange County indicating that Caruso is facing 5 felony charges: kidnapping, lewd or lascivious molestation, lewd or lascivious exhibition, luring or exciting a child, and child abuse, mental injury. The sexual abuse began in 2024, continued until about August 2025, according to probable cause affidavit. The victim of sexual abuse was one of his grandchildren, a boy under the age of 12, according to the affidavit. Caruso has 7 children. I mean, this is just unbelievable. But it's just par for the course. And I wonder if Trump will tell us that you're not MAGA if you think this exists. What do you think?
Well, I certainly think that there's nobody who's been more on the forefront of exposing these creeps on both sides of the aisle in power than you, Alex. And I think the answer to that is that we push for the prosecution. We cheer for the prosecution of creeps. We celebrate it, but we don't let it distract us from the fact that we're about to lose the country to people who want to put us in camps, to people who want us dead. I think you can hold 2 ideas, one in each hand. One that says, not happy with the way things are going right now. We haven't really drained the swamp, and Trump's had 2 terms to do it, and he hasn't really done it. But there's a pragmatic side, Alex, that I believe people are missing, and that is by withholding your vote or, voting Democrat. People have already forgot just how bad 2020 to 2024 was. Most people forgot the lockdowns. Who did that? Democrats locked us down. And so this is the likes of Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, in my opinion, and anybody amplifying their views, which is why I criticized you about amplifying their views, because I think they are, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's another one. I think these people went from diehard MAGA to suddenly America bad. I'm going to start a third party. It all seems, now you're the master of this, put the pieces together. These people are working together to divide America. Trump is far from perfect. In fact, his second term has been largely a disappointment, in my opinion. But the answer is not to support the Democrats, because look at what Hassan Piker, who wants us all dead in the streets, is saying. I love Candace Owens because why? She's dividing the right. And what my goal is to reunite the right and galvanize ourselves, win the election, but then continue to try to hold people accountable. The Jeffrey Files release was an absolute debacle. We both agree on that. I happen to think there is no chance Trump is in them. They would have released it while Obama was president. They would have released it when he was running in 2016. They would have released it while Biden was president in 2020 running against him. They had a billion opportunities to release if they had anything on Trump. We agree the deep state is corrupt. They probably destroyed all the evidence. You and I are probably on the exact same page about what really happened on that island. But the facts remain. Trump did nothing, and Trump is not in those files. If he was, it would have been released.
Sure, but Jeremy,
Yes,
let me
the
explain
machine is-
something. And you seem like an astute guy, and so I think you're going to get this, or maybe you disagree. When people would criticize Trump in the last year and a half, even mildly, the surrogates would come out and attack us, the never-Trumpers, mainly the Israeli operatives. Trump would join in on it, then all the influencers would pack on, and people said, screw you. A lot of this isn't because they're getting Qatari money, or they're with Hassan Piker secretly, or they're, vacationing with Hunter Biden. It's that they're overcorrecting to say, fine, we're done with you, and we're kind of subconsciously, maybe consciously, the Democrats want to put us in prison, so let's just be buddies with them and kind of just give up and punch out. Because MTG didn't tell me this, but I knew she was going to resign about a week before. She said, I probably am. I'm just sick of it. I'm demoralized. I'm not going to run again. It's all depressing.
Yeah.
They're all corrupt Democrats, Republicans. I'm just done. And you see her every time. She was a successful lady in business.
Who could blame her?
She's in Costa Rica. She's out on a boat, wherever. I mean, she's on vacation. She's like retired. Now, Tucker's told me he never wants to be president and run. He might support somebody to inject new ideas, but mainly talking to Joe Kent and others and him, this is mainly this third-party talk, a way to put their platform out to get back control of the Republican Party to what original OG MAGA was. And I agree that if Trump would do olive branches of these people, it would neutralize that energy in a good way. I don't mean like neutralize them, but neutralize it. Like, you put a base in with an acid, and then we could off-ramp this and then listen to them. And he's starting to, go sideways with Israel. He's starting to say Netanyahu is a crook and his own worst enemy, and, trying to sabotage his peace deals, because it's true. And so if Trump came out against the NDAA in the Senate and basically merging us with the Israeli military, and it really says that, it says integrate, fuse, all of it, they'll co-own our weapons, then that would go light years. We need to see real action here. And I agree. I would love to salvage this. Doesn't mean I endorse the Epstein cover-up, but just for the party itself, it's hurting everything. I would love to see Trump stop pressing on the gas for accelerating this fight. You're telling me to stop the fight. You must not watch the show. This is exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think one of the biggest mistakes Trump made was leaving X, because during his first term, it felt like he was more in touch with the grassroots, his grassroots baits. You would see, like, he would do something unpopular, he would get shredded on X, and then he would revamp. Now he spends all his time on Truth, where it's essentially an echo chamber.
Well, I can tell you back then, this is even in documentaries I've talked about else, he really was the guy on the phone reading replies and doing it. Now they say, sir, security, you can't have the phone most of the time. He dictates a lot of it, but a lot of the Truth Social is not him. Okay, and they've admitted that. They've admitted that. So you're right. He's more in a silo now. He's more cloistered.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, I think. I think we agree, and I think that this is a good common ground, that regardless of whether or not I agree or disagree with this, the Tuckers or the Marjorie Taylor Greens or Candace Owens or whatever, the reality is a lot of their viewers are real, and they were or are former or current Trump voters. And Trump does really need to acknowledge it. I'm not saying he needs to just do wholesale. You didn't say that either. You should just maybe look.
Well, that's what they do. Paradox. They say you have no influence, but if we lose, it's your fault. No, these people, especially Tucker, I mean, he's right up there.
Yeah.
If I had to say, it's Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and then, I'm not trying to be in pole position. I've been number one before. It's not fun, but I'm in the top 10 or so. But consistently, it's Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson. Tucker has more power than he had at Fox. And I told him, this is only in a private conversation, but I said, I get you overcorrected. I think you may have overcorrected with the Hunter Biden fawning, but I said, I still respect it, whatever. But remember, these guys would love to put us all in prison and the censorship and the COVID. And I'm not going to say what he said back. It's just that, I mean, I've said it on air, and that's where I stand. But I mean, Tucker is a real guy. Like, oh, he doesn't really hunt. He's not really, no. He is agonized over the fact that he supported Trump. He feels guilty about it. He feels really guilty. He used to be like a neocon pro-war. That drives him. The Tucker you see on air, that's the real thing. He's like a young Santa Claus or something.
I believe that that's the real Tucker. I believe that these people, that there's a kernel of truth to the things that they're saying, but I do believe It's mostly
Listen,
driven.
listen, I've been in his house, his houses, his dad's old house, his house. I've been in his hunting lodges. That's all he does. He knows every hillbilly out there. He's got hunting lodges everywhere. He obsesses and fishes constantly on this. Everything else is a side deal to that. And there's photos and stuff all over when you're in his house of him with his dad when he's a little kid fishing and hunting there. But I hear this like, oh, he's this rich kid. He doesn't really hunt. He doesn't really care about and it's all bullshit. The Tucker Carlson you see. Let me tell you something. I can go to a shooting range with 5 or 6 special ops guys, and I shoot better than almost all of them all the time. Tucker Carlson didn't want it on camera because he goes, well, it's a little too, I don't want to, it's a little makes you look a little too militaristic. He can outshoot me, okay? And let me tell you, I'm a sharpshooter, buddy.
Yeah, maybe we'll come down there and we'll go to the range together, and you can teach me a thing or two. I just think, and I know we're running out of time, I think we agree. I think the common ground is that Trump does need to address I don't want to use dissident right because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but there are people on the right who genuinely did support him for a period of time and are upset. And I don't think it's valuable for him to, call people low IQ and to go after people like that who have supported him. The same way, Alex, I think you should pick up the phone and call Tim. I don't think you guys publicly spatting benefits anybody but the left.
Well, do you know why I went after him? Because I've been thinking privately I've been too nice to people. He's done some, and it was a fact that he was basically dancing on my political grave that wasn't real. And when it had already come out, it was the next problem. Okay. So,
but that's not what I talked to him. That's not how he feels, Alex. He really doesn't feel that way. He is a strong supporter, and he was genuinely hurt. He was his reply to you was just, I get it. It's acts, not a context comes through and everything. But do it privately, because I think you and Tim have an incredible long-term, you guys have put out some of the most epic shows in history streaming together. And, I don't think he's against you, Alex. I think that.
Well, I'll tell you what I thought. I'll tell you why I went in and did that last night, like 7 o'clock. I was already tired, but it was 4 a.m. I was pissed off. And I almost didn't do it, but then now his reply about I got a call, or clearly I got a call, makes me feel good about it. But I'm not a vindictive person. It's that there was clearly bots saying, oh, look, you anti-war guys are unpopular when the pro-war people are unpopular. Everybody knows that. And it looked to me like he just piled on and maybe got the talking point. I'm not accusing him of that, but I don't meet serially with the Israeli prime minister about propaganda operations.
I know, Alex, I totally, dude, nobody is more under attack than Alex Jones. And anybody, even if they're providing, harsh criticism or sharp criticism, or maybe it's sarcastic and it doesn't come across right. I think you and Tim should, will you give Tim a call later and just sort this out? Are you open to that? Because we need you. Even if Trump isn't our guy, we're going to have a new president in 2028.
Well, sure. In
probably.
The interest of not infighting, I won't do that. But I've already said a lot of mean things about Tim, and just maybe I just want to have a big war. Maybe I'm in Godzilla mode, but we'll see. Hold on, Salty Cracker. He needs to come on the show because for whatever retard thing, I know 2 different people. I had a brain fart and called you Salty Cracker when I know you're the quartering. I want to have both you guys on together soon because I'm a fan of both your shows. Stay right there, though. Do a few more minutes with us before I come back in the next hour. I have a special guest in studio, but will you do like 15 more minutes with us?
Sure, I got it.
Okay, and again, the best website for you is thequartering.com?
Yep, everything's there.
Because I got a few other items with you. I want to finish up the discussion about this, but thought-provoking with Jeremy from the Quartering. Now, let me do this. I did a 45-second plug in the first hour, and we need to fund our operation. I need to get into the new studios that are getting completed. I need to hire more crew. I need to get more reporters. I need to get more hosts. We're going to go bigger than InfoWars ever was. Wait till you see these announcements. It's just held up for legal reasons right now. It's very exciting. We're having big victories, but we need funds. So I bring you whatever's the coolest, whatever's the hottest, whatever's the highest rated. We have the new ready gun mount, the N52 rare earth mineral magnet, rated to hold up to 10 pounds. And it's got a little size selector. It's adjustable. It'll hold basically any handgun you want, including a 357 Magnum, a 44 Magnum, some of the biggest handguns out there. And I've already got these units. I've got the same company, and I paid something like, $40, $50 for these at Cabela's and other places. This is for $19.95 right now at thealexjonesstore.com. Normally, ladies and gentlemen, even discounted is $29.95, but for a limited time, $19.95 for VIP members, $15.99 right now at thealexjonesstore.com. And there's all of the other great ultramethylene blue, the bovine colostrum. There's a deal right now where you can get bovine colostrum at cost, but there's only a few hundred people left that'll be able to be part of that special deal. Take advantage of that right now at thealexjonesstore.com. And then finally, you've heard all the news about benzidol and ivermectin not just being anti-parasitic, but knocking out so many other things. A great detox for everybody to take. Go to 1776rx.health and get medical-grade ivermectin in the same pill with benzidol right now. The two are individually amazing, but together in the studies, they're insane. Look up what ivermectin and benzidol together are known for doing and why the system doesn't want you to know this information, has been trying to suppress it. Get ivermectin with benzidol right now at the new online pharmacy they've launched, bigly, at 1776rx.health, 1776rx.health, and then it helps this operation and what we're doing. But everybody, in my view, talk to your physician first. You'll be talking to him when you go there. I do this a couple times a year. I told them I wanted this. This is the way to go. Notice we just launched this a few weeks ago, and it's already all over the news about benzidol. Just type into news. You Google news, anything, even though they suppress it. Just benzidol, and see what's going on. Get the ivermectin with benzidol now at 1776rx.health and get the ready-to-mount gun magnet holster for your wall or under your desk, your car, or wherever right now for $19.95.
Planet Earth, filter your water. Stop turning my frog friends gay. This I command.
TheAlexJonesStore.com. Fight the globalist takeover now.
A scarlet martini before breakfast? You minx. Are you trying to outdo me in corruption? Or shall we make it a team effort?
Of course not, darling. This is methylene red from thealexjonesstore.com.
The ultramethylene red, madame. Bold, refined, and unapologetically potent. It optimizes cellular energy at the deepest level, delivers razor-sharp cognition, and ignites a warm, invigorating rush that spread through every vein.
All right, I appreciate Jeremy from The Quartering, thequartering.com with us for the 15 minutes. Then we have a special guest that is heading up the big event, Christ is King, America After Trump. That's going to be November 12th and 14th. Joel Webbin heading that up, really great guy. And I've had him on the show before. We got to really know him during the debate a few weeks ago up in Dallas with the neocons. And I'm only mentioning this now because he's with us at the bottom of the next hour, or bottom of this hour, actually. This says it perfectly, Jeremy. Christ is King, America After Trump. Whether you love Trump, hate Trump, whatever, when I was debating these neocons, including Andrew Wilson, it was always like, Trump's everything. We've got to have Trump. Trump's posting stuff on Truth Social about 2028. We're going to win. I would say that was a troll in the past, but who knows? What is your view about life after Trump? I mean, what should we be doing? I think we should be, really talking about the platform against the Democrat Socialists of America. Jeremy, what's your view on this?
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. First of all, I'd love to go to that. I see that's down in Dallas, so maybe we can meet up there, and you could take me out for a fancy steak dinner, and we can wrestle or something like that. But I think that America needs Christ right now. I happen to believe that there is something at a large scale. I know not everybody's religious, but like at a demonic level. And what's happening is, while we're all infighting, the Democratic Socialists of America are gaining power. It used to be fun to laugh at all the crazy, insane things that somebody like Hassan Piker said and did, but he helped get Zohran Mamdani elected. He helped get a Muslim socialist as the Democratic nominee in Michigan. He helped a Democratic socialist narrowly lose before the Democrats had another 1 a.m. Vote dump in Milwaukee that got their establishment Democrat in. Hopefully Tom Tiffany will win in Wisconsin, but I don't know. the Democratic Socialists of America used to be something we'd make fun of, but I think it's a massive mistake for Americans to continue treating them like a joke. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the current frontrunner to win the Democratic nomination. Now, I don't think she could win as president, but I didn't think Kamala Harris stood a chance either. People are still largely, red till I'm dead or blue no matter who. And if a Democrat socialist runs under blue, they get votes. And we used to have guys like Bernie Sanders that we'd all laugh at because he never actually achieved anything and he just bought more houses. But this is a real force. This force is basically Antifa and the far left that have been killing us in the streets. That's who these people are. And they're gaining more and more power in this country. I talk about on my show, by the way, during the day a lot. And it's scary. People are not paying enough attention to the fact that, we all laugh at Ilhan Omar, but she won her primary in a landslide. These people aren't going anywhere. And the more time, again, I keep bringing it up because it's my most important issue. The more time we spend infighting, the more power they get. The left has never polled lower in favorability. I saw a new report this morning than, I don't know, maybe in the last 20 years. I don't know what the time frame was. Yet they are still winning local elections. People are going further and further left. And we talked about earlier, I think Trump can slow the bleed by delivering affordability to Americans and not making
Let's
fun
talk
of us
more
for
about
saying
that.
burritos shouldn't be
60-second
20.
break before we join hundreds of stations that don't carry the first 5. Stay right there, Jeremy of The Quartering, making some really good points today, thequartering.com. We'll be right back. And check out his coffee. I've had it before. It's pretty good stuff. Maybe you should be a sponsor. Then he'd be sponsoring the Qatari militia. We'll be right back. So, what is life after Trump? He seems to think, with posts on Truth Social, he's running in 2028. Jeremy of The Quartering, and we've been debating and discussing cordially here today. I mean, do you think that's just trolling, or what do you think's behind that? And then, again, you were starting to answer it, I think, really eloquently. What comes out of that?
Well, first of all, minor update. It's coffeebrandcoffee.com. Sorry, I just want to correct the URL if people want to check it out. Sorry, I'm a shameless shill if nothing else. I, too, am supported exclusively by my viewers. But
beautiful.
I think, look, I think it's trolling, but second-term Trump, sometimes I can't tell the difference. And I think if people can't tell the difference, even your supporters, you should probably cut it out. I think life after Trump, it could go one of two ways. It depends, obviously, what happens in the midterms. What I'm mostly afraid of is that the Republicans get blown out in the midterms, and then Trump doesn't even have the votes to fix anything that he promised to. Remember the last term? Remember how suddenly he cared about internet censorship when he got banned from X? But it was the end of his first term, and he couldn't do anything about it. And then he was getting constantly impeached. That's what my biggest fear is with the midterms. If the Republicans get blown out in the midterms, and maybe they deserve it, I don't know. But if they do, then Trump will have no chance to fix anything. So that's why I'm hoping, praying, doing what I can to try and unite people to say, like, we need to give Trump more time. I think he means well. Now, after him, I don't know. Who do you get? Probably J.D. Vance running for the Republicans. And one major thing I want to bring up, and I think maybe I wanted to get your take on this. A big mistake the Republicans have made after Trump won was checking out and pretending like the culture war was won. Meanwhile, I don't think the culture war has been won at all. It's raging just as much as it ever has been. And if we get, I don't know if it's going to be AOC or Kamala Harris, those are probably the two most probable to run against. And if one of them wins, people thought woke one was crazy. Wait till the Democrats control the Senate, the House, and the presidency. I think it's extremely dire. And that's why I'm going so hard and trying to mend bridges and try to encourage you to call Tim when you get some free time later, and hopefully reunite people and under the banner of saying, yeah, it hasn't been great. I know this isn't exactly a great sales pitch. It hasn't been great, but it could have been so much worse, and it will be so much worse if we stay divided.
Well, just imagine what the Democrats are going to do if they win the House and Senate, which is, I think, a probability right now. I mean, break down what you think they're going to do, and then you say, well, even we'll lose 2028. A lot of times, though, they'll be so horrible and so evil, people kind of remember that and go back to being Republican. And then all these other people, like Nick Fuentes, you know, I respect a smart guy, but he goes, oh, you're being conned again. No, I'm not being conned again when they are absolutely Islamicist, communist, pedophile, Satan-worshiping, you know, just destroy America people. And then I'll work with what I've got with Republicans. There's a lot of good state Republicans, a lot of good national ones. We've got a beachhead there. But then I watch the Republicans you know, screw themselves and us over, and I'm even more pissed at them than they join up with Israel to bash us that are trying to stop this horrible war. And it just pisses me off. I don't blame people that get blackpilled and just throw their hands up. So give us your take on what the Democrats are going to do.
Well, I think if the Democrats win, what you're going to see is a massive undoing. I mean, I think people want Trump to deport more, but the fact of the matter is he has been deporting a lot. They're going to completely undo that in record time. Look at cities like Dearborn, Michigan, you know, Muslim centers that are in Texas of all places. You're going to have these Muslim enclaves in every major city in America. You're going to be importing people completely unfettered at a rate that we have never seen before, because that's how the Democrats continue to secure power. That's why all these DSA people, these Muslim people that are running for political power, they run under the Democrat banner because they know Republicans would never vote for them. It is going to be a level of woke, a level of oppression, a level of actual fascism that we've never witnessed probably since the lockdowns during 2020. This is bigger than arguing even about Charlie Kirk's assassination. This is a bigger fight than even the 2024 election was, because way more is on the line, because way more far leftist ideologies are gaining power across this country. They are getting enclaves even here in the Midwest. I mean, who would have thought Wisconsin, Texas, Michigan would have these towns with Arabic street signs? That's not the America I want to live in. That's not the America Alex Jones wants to live in, I'm sure. And if we stay apathetic and we get blackpilled, I fight against it so much. I understand, like you do, it's easy to get blackpilled because we haven't, I mean, it hasn't felt good probably since the Doge days, the first couple of weeks, you know, of the Trump presidency. Then everything fell apart. But what I'm trying to get people to understand is that, yeah, okay, if you didn't like Trump, well, you don't have to vote for him anymore. And it's going to be so much worse. Just think of Kamala Harris's word salads running, you know, in the White House. We have to refocus and understand the bigger picture that maybe the second Trump term didn't turn out how we liked, but we picked the right guy the next time while still holding people accountable. I think we should still primary people who are not America first. I think that, but I think this idea of crossing over or withholding your vote is exactly what the left wants you to do. It is a demoralization operation run by several people. I've already mentioned it. I don't think that they're getting paid by anyone. I'm not making that claim, but it's quick. It's curious to me why these videos seem to always be trending on YouTube. It's curious to me why they seem to get, you know, put up to the, you know, in the X algorithm. I think, and I believe that there is a concerted effort to demoralize the American right in a moment when, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, we should have been blowing them out. We should have been putting them all in prison. We should have been, you know, we should have been just completely destroying the left. And somehow, inorganically, in my opinion, now the right has spent the last year arguing with itself instead of worrying about other things. And like you said, like, we can't have the administration coming out and saying, we don't care about your $20 burritos. That's insane. That's like as bad as Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables kind of stuff. People remember that. Americans are struggling. $4 to $7 a gallon for gas. It is too much. Trump has to course correct. And if he doesn't, we'll probably get total Democrat leadership in 2028, which would be disastrous. It could be the destruction of this country.
I agree with that, except then you have the Israel lobby basically being Trump's brain, viciously coming out, and the neocons attacking anybody that even mildly criticizes what Trump's doing, trying to get him back on track, joining in, and that only supercharges the other side. And that's because the Israel lobby wants to fully take over MAGA. They want to demoralize, and they want to run out all of Trump's supporters. So you miss that fact. You miss Trump. He called me low IQ and a burnout. Okay, great. But and I'm not an emotional person, but I thought it was funny. I love stuff that makes fun of me and everything because I know who I am. My issue was, with a lot of people, the attacks were much worse. That they're traitors, they're scum, all of that. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene was mildly criticizing him, and then he started calling her traitorous scum and stuff.
She called him a pedophile, Alex. I don't think that's a mild criticism.
She said he's protecting them.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think here's how I think you've got
the train of events wrong there.
Maybe she said she was protecting them. I have to. Maybe you're correct on that. Your memory's far better than mine. Here's what I'll say.
Well, Trump is protecting people that lied about deep relationships with Epstein, and he is.
So is every president. Yeah, I mean, so is the FBI. So is Kash Patel. We agree on that.
And but Trump was supposed to be different.
I know he was.
I oppose those other presidents. I mean, if I support what he didn't have to say stuff like, if you believe Epstein isn't a hoax, you're not MAGA. It was just the dumbest stuff ever.
I know, but I think I interpreted that as his involvement in it, him being in the files, but maybe he did mean it's a hoax.
No. I mean, I understand he meant his involvement. Now the Democrats were looking at it as a hoax. Then you counter it. But no, he wanted to protect Lex Wexner and Howard Lutnick and people.
All these people.
Yeah.
Probably. I'll even concede that point. But to the neocon attacks and to the pushback, I would say that's when you double down, Alex. This is what you're best at. When they attack you, you just come back twice as hard. The conversations on X are not real life. And when the neocons come out and say you're a traitor for criticizing him, ignore it. You get criticism more than anybody on the planet. You know exactly how to do that. I think that if you speak to the needs of the American people, the real needs, the cost of living crisis, all this kind of stuff, the long tail of that is you will be proven right. The jar will continue to overflow for you, Alex, if the Alex Jones was right jar. The infighting stuff, it's not going to accomplish anything. And, when I didn't know how I was going to come in here to this conversation, I prayed on it this morning, and I'm really glad that it's gone the way that it's gone. And I think we both see each other's position much better after this than just X conversations. But I think that these attacks from the establishment should be met with, local movements to get them voted out and to organize. And then the best organization to do that would be, of course, TPUSA. And by attacking them, I'm not saying you are, attacking the movement, there are many on the right that do, but you aren't. Attacking them, they're our best shot at primarying out some of these dorks. And if we can't primary them out, then, I don't know what, I don't have the answer for that, but I think that it's better than blackpilling because voting still works. Donald Trump won in 2016 and he won in probably some people say 2020, but then he also won again in 2024. The will of the people was served. Now, was his second term great? It hasn't been, but
we're going into an economic disaster. And even if it happens after the midterms, I think it will probably happen right after them. We're already in it, but it's going to be very clear then. This is just bad news, and the messaging has just been terrible about we don't care about your economic problems. It's been absolutely terrible. All right, well, Jeremy from The Quartering, thequartering.com, on X, The Quartering, Rumble, The Quartering. Very interesting discussion, and I appreciate you joining us today to discuss it.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me on, Alex. Call. You're going to call Tim, right? You call Tim? Come on. Put Godzilla, use Godzilla for somebody who isn't 95% on your side. You're Godzilla, he's Mothra,
No, he's Godzilla. This is right here. I'm fighting Tim Pool, right? This is actual, this is not AI. This is real. Okay.
Yeah. I saw it on the news this morning. It's 100% real. Please at least consider it. Because we need you guys united, even if you disagree on this one issue. I can't say if he'll come on and talk to you or not.
I'm a gorilla. Murder yourself.
Alex, it's been great. I hope you'll consider it. And
hey, look, I just kicked Tim Pool's ass. That's real footage, folks.
There you go. The fight's over. Now what happens after a fight?
Paid for by Qataria. Alex. The Qatarians paid for it.
Now you fought, and now you shake hands. And that's what real fighters do.
I don't think Tim wants that. I think he's going to want to strike back.
No, I think he would. I think he would be very open to it. I mean, if he strikes back, Alex, then go double Godzilla, nuclear Godzilla. But I just think We need your voice is so important, and we need you criticizing Trump.
Well, according to Tim, I have no audience anymore because I'm anti-war. The war is super popular, which is just pure crap. That's why I thought it was a talking point. It looked like a talking point. It was put out by everybody else. That's why I got pissed. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
And I owe it to...
I'm excited to announce our Christ is King conference in Dallas, November 12th to 14th. And in Florida, James Fishback's race is a true David versus Goliath battle. Hold on, breaking news! Tim Pool is an Orthodox Jew! That's interesting, but we focus on religion over race. We're all made in God's image. So why call yourself a Christian nationalist? Because Christ must be king over our nation.
This is the War Room Live. I'm joined in person by Joel Webbon. You, of course, can follow him on X at Joel Webbon. He's the founder of NXR Studios, which I'm happy enough to do a show for once a week, Off Limits News.
We are so honored, Harrison. Your show is fantastic, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You have... they all get a lot of views, but the comments are usually like 50-50. It's like, this is so good, and also, Joel, I hate you, and I hope you die. But yours is like a 90-10 ratio. Positive comments.
It's been very nice. Well, it's been great because obviously, doing a show daily, it's just this constant deluge of news. So I sort of like the idea of I'll do a once a week show that's 1 hour where I can just sort of compact all these other thoughts I have that maybe there's not a time for during the day. So it's been very fun to do. And of course, when you asked, I had to say, look, InfoWars always comes first.
Right.
If there's ever a conflict,
I knew.
I'm sorry.
But I knew that if I was straight up trying to poach you, I think Alex Jones would kill me. So I knew better than to do that. Yeah.
But it's been absolutely fantastic. The content is fantastic. We did a great roundtable with myself and Dale Partridge and Calvin Robinson and yourself, and it was great just like being in person.
And that's 4 parts. The first one released a few weeks ago, but then we had some other ones that we wanted to show. That's the Wednesday show. We call it the NXR special, but it's actually a 4-part series. We've only aired the first one. The other 3 are going to be coming out in the next few weeks. And you're right, that discussion between all of us was awesome.
It was very exciting and very fun. And it's just, there's something about being in person that's so much more valuable than being online, which of course goes directly to this giant event that we're all doing November 12th through 14th in Dallas, Texas, Christ is King, America After Trump, 3-day conference. I'm so excited for this. Like Alex, I'm already preparing my speech and thinking, what do I want to talk about? It's going to be a huge event overall. And of course, people can go to newchristianright.com/conference, use the promo code Harrison, all caps, Harrison. No, you can also use Alex Jones, all caps, or Fishback.
Yeah, so Alex Jones is 20% off, all caps, one word. Harrison is also, all caps, one word, is 20% off. But today, the big one we wanted to push, in light of it being... It's the primary GOP election day right now in Florida. And Fishback, here's the deal. Whether he wins or loses, he has changed the game. He's a canary in the coal mine. He's the prototype, I think, for a new, younger, but not just younger for the sake of being younger. Who cares about that? But somebody who is unapologetic and so clear in his Christian faith and being pro-life against, he's called abortion murder. He says he's going to shut down all 53 abortion clinics in the state of Florida. He signed a legal document that actually binds him to his campaign promises, all these kinds of things. And so James Fishback, today is the election in Florida. And I'm going to be honest, it's entirely possible that he loses. First and foremost, though, we don't need to start hedging our bets when the votes are still coming in. So first, if you're in Florida, if you are a Christian, if you're a Christian nationalist, if you're an American patriot, if you care about the country, you care about the state of Florida, get your butt out and vote for Fishback. James Fishback, vote for him in Florida. That's first. But second, even if he doesn't win, right? Because it's David versus Goliath. Byron Donalds, I think it's like close to 60 million war chest. He's got the Miriam Adelson funds. He's got Trump. And
Trump's
he's desperate.
endorsed him 3 times.
Correct. And that shows desperation, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You know that he's, picking up the phone and begging, like, Trump, please come out and endorse me again because this young guy Fishback is kicking my butt because I actually kind of suck and everybody knows it and I'm a DEI hire and, all those kinds of things. But the fact still remains, Florida has, in terms of per capita for the nation, it's the most boomers. And they're going to tend to go with just MAGA and Trump's endorsement, those kinds of things. Plus, there's nothing that swells the heart of a boomer more than a black man who actually has a decent haircut, and a well-trimmed beard. And, and they're like, because boomers, at the end of the day, when they lay their head on the pillow at night, that's their greatest claim to fame is we're not racist,
Right.
So there is a temptation, for them just to go with Byron because he's a well-kept black guy and he has Trump's endorsement and all those kinds of things. And so because there's so many in Florida, James, he doesn't have nearly the funding that Byron does. And so it really is David versus Goliath. But first, let's vote for him. Let's actually vote for Fishback because he actually can win. I've seen some of the inside polls that's polling some of the early voting. And from what I've seen, there is the possibility that he could only be 4.5 or 5 points down. And today, actually, he really could win. Vote Fishback. Many people in my church are literally praying and fasting, like the church-wide fasting and praying that God would use him and that he would win. But my point is this, it's not to hedge my bet, it's just to state a fact. Even if he loses, if all the haters are right and Fishback comes in at 3%, 5%, whatever, then yeah, I'm gonna eat some humble pie. But if he comes in, even if he loses, if it's over 20%, people will be studying the Fishback campaign
100%.
For years.
And they already should be, because clearly his social media presence, the way he gets people out to events, it is truly astonishing. And this is one of those things where I go, if I'm just looking at X, it's like it's James Fishback all day, every day. I mean, he's doing all these events.
It's incredible.
And I mean, he's showing up at
15 events a day.
And like at 2 o'clock in the morning, he's got 100 people, outside some university.
Or 200 or 300 people.
Co-op.
And I can
amazing.
say firsthand experience. So I had the distinct pleasure, James, he gave me a call and said, Joel, I want to do something a little bit different. He was like, I think this was I forget what it was called. Antonio, you might know, but it was like the Sundown event or something like that. Some kind of Republican event that he was supposed to be a part of. And then they reneged his invitation because he doesn't worship. He's never kissed the wall in Israel or something like that. But they reneged his invitation. And so he went up the road and held like a counter rally.
Right.
And he invited me to do it. And this speaks to his character as not just a politician, who cares about that, but as a Christian. He said, I want Joel to come, and I'm picking him not despite this, but because Joel's a pastor, and he let me preach a sermon. I started by saying, this is a political rally. Who's doing this? Trump didn't even do this. Even 2015 Trump energy did not do this. He let me stand up, and I started with, please stand for the reading of God's word. And I read a passage from Joshua about being strong, courageous, and I literally preached a 20, 25-minute sermon, and then we welcomed Fishback, and he did the Q&A on the spot because he's so good on the fly, and he just did it for like 2 hours, and then he was on to another event. But my point is, I was there in person. The room was packed. There was probably 400 or 500 people, and this is not something that they were planning like our conference. I hope by God's grace that we can have, I think we're going to have a couple thousand people and sell out, especially now that we got Alex Jones. But this is something we've been planning for a few months. You've been helping me promote.
Anybody that's ever tried to organize anything, getting 100 people to a single area is like
exactly. He did this in a matter of days.
Amazing, yeah,
incredible.
And so there's something there, and there's something compelling people to go out and see him. Whether that translates into electoral, success or not, I guess we'll wait to see. But it's sort of, at this point, it's hard to sort of get your grips on anything. Because I felt the same way about Thomas Massey, where it's like, there's no way this other dude who's never had an event and never done a debate and has no, legitimate, authentic groundswell support. There's no way he can beat Thomas Massey, who won from 80% of his district, even after Trump had, proved the other guy later or earlier than the most recent race. So I have a hard time even figuring out, getting my finger on the pulse. And
I know it's hard to see what's real, because I
Yeah.
understand that Twitter's not real life. I get that. At the same time, I also think that there's a sense in which social media does syndicate and give you a snapshot of real life. So you don't want to live your life on Twitter and, the algorithm speaks for God, and that's retarded. But at the same time, to pretend that that somebody like James Fishback that has motion, as the kids would say, and is turning out crowds, and you see, the live streams and the pictures and all that, to say that none of that is real and that it's all fabricated, well, that you're kidding yourself. That's some Byron Donalds copium.
It's also imagine the mindset of the Republicans at the top who see the energy, they see the youthful energy. How are you not sitting there thinking, wow, this is something we really need to, capture for ourselves. Right. This is something we need to make hay out of, because clearly, capitalize on, exactly. Because clearly they have to recognize that their strongest demographic is literally dying out. I mean, they're aging out. So you have to get the youth. Obviously, as James Fishback, guys, he's seized on something that the youth resonates with, and yet from the establishment, you get nothing but disdain and dirty tricks and, really hatred of the guy.
And if Democrats hate Fishback because, he's conservative and he's right wing, he's Christian and he, wants to shut down abortion clinics, and that makes sense. But people on the right, There's more vitriol for Fishback on the right than there is a left. Yeah. And these guys are being retarded because what they need to recognize is very similar kind of to a 2015 Trump-esque kind of momentum. Fishback is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's simply a matter of when. He may not win this election, although I think it's possible. Get out and vote for Fishback today in Florida. But if he doesn't win, here's the deal. It's just a matter of the timing. When, W-H-E-N, not if. Fishback is young. He's got charisma. He's not going anywhere. But this Byron Donalds kind of voter class that he can depend on, they are going somewhere. They're going 6 feet under, right? They've got 10 to 20 years left. And Fishback will be the typecast. He is the mold. He's the prototype, the blueprint of what I hope and pray and what I actually think is inevitable that the GOP will become. Both the left and the right, they're not actually meeting in the center. That's a lie. There can be no fellowship between light and darkness, right? There was a moment where some guys on the right were saying, oh, maybe we, bipartisan, we can band together the left and right against Israel. Being critical of Israel is not enough for a political movement. Mossad, I have some big problems with, as you know, but Mossad is not the greatest threat in a day-to-day scenario for my 5 children, my wife. You know who is? My leftist, blue-haired, feminist neighbor with a Talarico sign in her front yard. Because that person, if they discover my home address and they know what my children look like, and they're the type of person who'll run over one of my kids with their car. They're crazy. Yeah. They're absolutely crazy. We've got women, oh, that's hyperbolic. Oh, did a woman just strangle her 3 kids or not? I don't think I'm exaggerating that much.
Well, it's not just the strangling the kids. It's the fact that she's got $1 million of support and all these people.
Just like Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, it was the same thing. He got all this support. And so my point is just to say that what we see happening is it's not that the left and right are coming together. The new evolution of the right and the new evolution of the left will both be somewhat center. It's actually the opposite. It's Fishback on the right, Mondami on the left. They're actually both getting more extreme. It's going to be communism versus nationalism.
Yeah, and the people promoting the traditional neoconservative position are really doing a service for the radical leftists, right? By trying everything they can to stop people from voting for people like Fishback, who are farther on the right. But nothing he says is outrageous. Nothing he says is radical. What he says is unique, and it's very interesting hearing a modern politician say some of this stuff, but it's all very kind of common sense at the end of the day.
And doesn't it remind you, like, I understand there are degrees of scale, but in looking at the principle, right, not the degree, but the principle, the category, it really, like Fishback, there's no one else that he reminds me of than Trump. That's like holding all these rallies, the energy, the excitement, saying some bombastic things that aren't, in principle, are not extreme. They're not dangerous. They're not even that transgressive, but it's still something that your average politician would never say. Like Trump, like with Hillary, that's because you'd be in jail, and Fishback having some of those quips and the quick on his feet and the one-liners and the courage and not backing down, unapologetic. It reminds me of that kind of Trumpian figure that changed the political game. And I think that the political game is going to be changed again by Fishback. And Politico, my friend Antonio, he's one of my co-hosts, he just told me this afternoon, that Politico, I think, just published an article today saying that James Fishback is forever changed the political landscape already.
And that's my question. I guess as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, what they're going to do is try to clone Fishback. They're going to try to mimic Fishback's energy and sort of his strategy if they can just temper some of the messages that he has. Because again, I just am thinking, if I'm the Republican, even if I'm purely motivated on my own power and my own self-aggrandizement, I would look at Fishback and go, we got to get this guy on Fox. We got to get this guy in our camp. We got to co-opt some of that energy to us. But they're not doing that. So clearly it's more important to them to maintain this firewall of ideological purity than it is to win, or than it is to get victory.
True. That's such a good point.
Is really, that's what we got to get over, and we got to actually embrace people like James Fishback if we want anybody from the Republican Party to win in the future.
That's so true. Yeah, that's a great point. I love how you said that at the end of the day, right, the purpose of a system is what it does. Right. You could even say the purpose of a man is what he does. It doesn't seem like the purpose is winning. right? Because if it was winning, they'd say, all right, let's get behind it. I mean, 99% of the things we agree, he's pro-life, all the things that we say we care about, he's actually for those things. Except in the case of Fishback, it seems like there's maybe one thing that they disagree on, which is support for a foreign. Yeah, exactly. So that makes you think maybe it's not about winning. Maybe it's not actually about saving the unborn child in their mother's womb, or maybe it really is just using America as a tax farm for a foreign interest.
I mean, and that is sort of the way that it goes. And that one of the, the reason why Israel gets everything it wants in our Congress right now is because you might have people with very differing views, but there's sort of a filtering process that says, well, you have to align on this one thing. And you can be pro-abortion, anti-abortion. It doesn't really matter to us. It doesn't matter to AIPAC what you think about those things. What matters is what you think about Israel. And so it actually makes sense for the individual to go, well, I got 100 different issues. Maybe I'm not totally on board the Israel thing, but I can sacrifice one of my issues to serve the 99. That's the calculus that goes on in the candidate's head. And so at the end of the day, what you're left with is all these people with all these varying views that all just so happen to align on this one issue. So it's sort of like what James Fishback is doing is the inverse of that, where he's got all the right ideas, but he's not right on Israel, so he has to be thrown out.
Absolutely. Real quick on the Fishback thing, this is something I put out a video. I don't know if you watched it, but I was going up to, on Thursday nights, we do like a training for men in our church, like deep theological training. We're like Calvin's Institutes and like really heady stuff, but it's awesome because the men are great and we talk about life and we talk about the Bible, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit or what, but I was like, I got to do a video for Fishback. I had this idea, so I went up to the church early because it's really hard to record at home. My home is very loud with my family, so I went just a few minutes early and I went into the sanctuary of our church and I did this little 5-minute video where I talked about that a vote for Collins or a vote for Renner. And Paul Renner I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's terrible, or I don't have any ill will, or like he would be absolutely terrible, but he can't win. And Jay Collins can't either. And I like Renner better than Collins, but I like Fishback the most. And he's clearly the second runner. If Byron is first, then Fishback has the best chance of beating him. And so I talked about like vote for Renner or vote for Collins is a vote for Byron because you're sucking away the momentum and the energy and the votes from Fishback, and he's the only one who can actually beat him. And a vote for one of these other guys, third and fourth runners, a vote for Byron. A vote for Byron is in many ways a vote for a Democrat. One, because I think that Byron kind of is a little bit like a Democrat. I could make that argument. But number two, a lot of these polls, I don't know if you've seen them, but some of these polls predicting not the primary but the general actually point towards Fishback being one of the only guys out of this 4-man race that could beat the Democrat, whereas Byron actually goes down to Jolly. Have you seen some of those?
Yeah, and I watched that video. I retweeted that video. We played the video on War Room. It was a great video, and I think it was a great point. And again, I think we have to prove ourselves here, and James Fishback is a big litmus test, a big bellwether of how successful this type of candidate will be. Obviously, there's been some not very successful ones, people like Casey Putsch, and there's this big sort of scandal at that time of, well, do we support him or not? My whole thing has kind of been, I'm going to support anybody that is on our side and has our ideas and is running, because I just want people out there trying to shift the needle.
I so appreciate that, Harrison. And just for the record, I get both sides. And I'll just say it because there's nothing to hide. Like he knows what he said. He knows who we're talking about. You are a friend. I really appreciate you. Nick Fuentes is a friend, and I really appreciate him.
Hey, and happy birthday, Nick, by the way.
Oh, it's his birthday. You're right.
Apparently it's his birthday.
Hey, if you want to give Nick Fuentes a birthday present, then vote for Fishback.
There you go.
Because he would appreciate it. But here's my point in bringing up Nick. My point in bringing up Nick is to say that you, and I gravitate more towards your position personally, but I understand the principle and the strategy of Nick's position, so I'm not going to disparage it. You're saying, look, we don't want to discourage any of our guys who are good guys from taking power because we don't want them to, out of cowardice, to just be apathetic and passive and nobody tries for anything.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, I understand Nick. I don't think this should be the average guy strategy. But I do make the exception and see how it's reasonable for Nick because so much is riding on him. Right? I mean, he was like person of the year, New York, the Times, person of the year, and everybody would love to say, see, look, Nick, it's none of it's real life. It's all a joke. It's just clicks from third world countries online and blah blah. But when it actually comes to on the ground, Nick endorsed so and so, like a Casey Putsch or this person or that, and I liked Casey. Right?
Yeah, I like him too, yeah.
And so we had Casey on the show, but Fishback we've had on 7 times, and there's a reason for that. So I think Casey's a great guy. We had him on the show once, but in the case of Fishback, we've had on 7 times, and I have endorsed Fishback in a very clear way. I didn't campaign in Ohio for Casey, but I did campaign on the ground with Fishback. And I think Nick is he's saying that. He's saying, look, to put the America First label, the Nick Fuentes, the Groyper, whatever, Nick has not really put that on anybody because he knows the second that he does that, he officially endorses someone. If they come in at 10%, 8%, 5%, then he's a laughing stock. And everyone's going to, exactly, they're going to point to him, not just saying you're illegitimate, but they're going to say Nick is actually the reason they lost. They performed so poorly. And then all of a sudden he has a scarlet letter A, an albatross around his neck, and his entire movement is hamstrung. And so my point, though, is Nick has not come out and formally endorsed hardly anyone. He did that yesterday.
Yeah.
For like the first time in regards to Fishback. And here's the thing. I think it's one, because Fishback is a serious candidate. But number two, Nick is not stupid. If Nick did that, it's because Fishback actually could win. So one more time, I got to say, get out and vote. You have till 7 p.m. Eastern time in the state of Florida. If you're a Florida resident, get out and vote for Fishback. And the whole point of bringing up, the whole Jay Collins and Paul Renner thing is to say, if you vote for one of them, I'm telling you, you're siphoning away from the one guy who can actually beat Byron Donalds. So even if you don't particularly like Fishback, but you at least agree that Byron Donalds would be a disaster, then you can't vote for Collins and you can't vote for Renner. You got to vote for Fishback. And so vote for him. Second, use all caps, one word, promo code Fishback, and you will get, and this is only for today, right? So voting boost, vote Fishback. That ends at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But at 12 a.m. Pacific time, this promo code, it's only for today, ends. It's newchristianright.com/conference, newchristianright.com/conference, promo code Fishback, all caps, for 40% off. It's going to take it from, I think our regular price is like $250 for a 3-day pack conference, takes you down to $150, almost all the way down to the early bird price, but that's only for today.
And the number of speakers, of course, our audience is well familiar with most of them, including myself. JP Sears, Fishback will be there. Calvin Robinson's incredible, and he's been a fixture on the online right for a while. You've got Alex Stein. Did I mention Alex Stein already? I'll mention him again. Dale Partridge, yourself. And of course, Alex Jones. This is a very full lineup, and we'll be hanging out, answering questions. But
with Alex Stein, one, it's like, why have Alex Stein? Well, my first answer is this, because he's my friend. Yeah. Well, he's incredibly kind. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and it wasn't doing a public thing. It was actually behind the scenes, and we bumped into each other, and he approached me. He was, little old me, and he was just so kind and generous. And
he's very much like Alex Jones, where like who he is in the public perception is exactly who he is behind the scenes. There's no act being put on.
And then he just, would text me from now and then, or give me a phone call, just encourage me. One of the most encouraging people that I've met. So one,
the best, yeah.
I like Alex Stein. And two, nobody at this conference is the Pope. Nobody is a saint, including myself. But the bar is that that they've at least made a public profession of Christ. Alex Stein is the name, but he is a professing Christian. He believes in Jesus. And then lastly, I have to say, it may be every single time, but it's not every single Stein.
And we prove it with Alex Stein himself.
And we appreciate Alex, yeah.
I tell you what, can you stay for a little longer, or you got it?
Sure. So I actually have to catch a flight in a little bit, but I've got another 20 minutes or so.
Okay, we're going to do 20 more minutes with Joel Webbin. Go now, newchristianright.com/conference. That's newchristianright.com/conference. Fishback, all caps, one word, 40% off today only. We'll be back in a few minutes with more. Stay with us. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is The War Room Live. I'm your host, Harrison Smith, joined in studio by Joel Webbin. You can follow him on X at Joel Webbin. That's JoelWebbon. And of course, you can go to newchristianright.com/conference. Christ is King. America After Trump is the name of the 3-day conference that we will be putting on. Alex will be speaking there. I will be speaking there. JP Sears, Joel Webbin, just an absolutely all-star lineup.
And James Fishback.
And James Fishback, of course, who is... today's election day in Florida. So if you're just tuning in, you're in Florida, what are you doing? Go vote. You've got to vote now for James Fishback. I wonder what the numbers are because, primary. This whole political paradigm is so new to me. I mean, people used to not know what primaries were. Now it's
totally.
It's this whole cultural movement thing.
Which it is good that people are starting to care, and I'm one of those people.
Yeah,
right? It's not like if you talked to me 10 years ago about politics, much less primaries, and I'd be like, huh,
right.
But now I actually care. But in terms of the numbers, I don't know if this is specifically what you were getting at. But if you look back at like 2022, which I think is a good litmus test, so that was another midterm election. This would be DeSantis going up for second term at that time. 2022 in the state of Florida, we actually have a lower turnout with the early voting so far in 26 than we had in 22, which is kind of crazy because you would expect, if anything, for there to be more turnout because in 22 you had the incumbent. Exactly. But it's actually lower. So even if Byron gets it by default because he's had 3 Trump endorsements, he's got the Miriam Adelson money, all that kind of this. Who Miriam Adelson is also who supported and funded the opponent of Thomas Massie and got him unseated, and so even though he is the front runner, he's who's slated to win. The polls, from what I've seen on the ground from the early voting, are actually really close. Like James actually could win. He's a lot closer than people are admitting. It seems like some of the stuff is even being suppressed. But because the turnout is so low, I think it was like 800,000 something, like 830,000, something like that for all of the early voting. And if you look at 2022 in Florida, the primary, it was 53% of the total vote for that midterm election came in as early voting, and then 47 came in day of. And so if you look at that, with 800,000 it is so far with the early voting for Florida, if today is the day of, election day is slightly less than that, and then you're looking at like a 1.5 to 1.6 million total votes cast, which means James Fishback, if Paul Renner and Jay Collins combined get about 30% of the vote, which leaves 70 split between Byron and James, then James needs to get, like 35.5%. He needs to get just a little over 35%. What that would translate to is about 550 to 600,000 votes. Maybe he could even win with 540,000 votes. And when you think of that, like Monty Fritz, I really liked him in Tennessee. I think he came in third place, but he was Christian nationalist. He's a man of God. He loves the Lord. I got to talk to him behind the scenes, and we did not endorse him in the way that we have Fishback. We've had Fishback on the show 7 times. I got to be on the ground rallying with him. But Florida, just numerically, the population is 3 times the size of Tennessee. And Fishback is a workhorse. He's a machine. He's doing, multiple events every single day and has been doing it for months and months and months and months. I guarantee you, nationwide and in Florida, more people know the name Fishback than those in Tennessee who knew the name Monty Fritz. And that's not to cast shade on Monty, but Fishback is just a machine. So my point is, with Florida having 3 times the population and Fishback running at the speed of light with his campaign, all he has to do, Monty got, I think it was like 100, somewhere between 180 and 250,000 votes. And with 1.6 million total votes projected for this Florida race, Fishback needing about 550,000 of those, it means that he would only really have to get about 2.5x what Monty got in a state 3 times the size, with a campaign that has been so vocal and so loud. And so my point is, he may not win, but this is not over till it's over. It is possible.
It's very doable.
It's very doable.
It's very doable. Now, just the term Christian nationalism. Can we talk about that for a second? Because I feel like it's such a loaded term. I feel like it's being defined by enemies of Christian nationalism. They like to tell people, the Senate candidate here, James Tallarico, has made it a cornerstone of his campaign to inform people about the dangers of Christian nationalism, which he essentially is warning people about the dangers of, like, Nazism.
Yes.
They're basically equating these two things, which is ridiculous, but it's because our enemies are defining this term for us.
Our enemies are conflating Christian nationalism with white ethno-nationalism.
Right.
And my views on this, Harrison. We've talked about it offline.
Victory,
there he
whether
is.
Fishback wins or loses, he's a real star. We move the ball down the field.
That's right.
Giving up is how whether he wins or loses doesn't matter. Name recognition, we're building the future. Just like Ron Paul and Trump, we just keep moving down. I mean, interrupt, just listening here.
No,
classic thing.
This is a dream. It's a dream come true. I've watched Alex Jones. No, I've watched Alex Jones hop in and bomb a stream so many times.
Is working for Netanyahu.
Save me, Tim Pool.
And now I'm actually a part of it. This is amazing.
By the way, Tim Pool's now playing total victim. saying he lost a friend. He doesn't know why this happened. He's
poor
trying
guy.
to be nice at Tim Pool. I'm just sick of the fakeness.
Call him. You guys, you got to kiss and make up.
The reason I'm mad is I'm tired of his fakeness.
I understand you being mad, but you guys should talk. You should talk.
He wants me to lovingly, like as a clown, only for charity.
Charity boxing match.
Shoot. No. We're going to shoot. No, I'll light the fuse. We're going to shoot him out of a cannon.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll be we'll only shoot him like 500 yards. He'll be safe.
He can have a beanie.
He'll be safe because he's got the beanie. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm proud of the fact that he's an Orthodox Jew, but the fact is that beanie is
not.
That beanie is the cover. No.
What is Tim's agnostic? Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
The point is the beanie. I'm proud of it, actually.
Oh, you think it's hiding a
The
kippah?
truth is he's the illegitimate son of Netanyahu.
All right.
And the beanie is actually a way to hide. I'm proud of him.
Paul, if you can hear me.
He's just like Ben Shapiro.
I don't hate you. Have me on your show.
Did you know Ben Shapiro was
I'll
part of that?
mediate.
He was for genetically modified fraternal twins.
Ben Shapiro, over the years, you can watch his kippah getting bigger and bigger.
Just like his eyebrows.
But it's not as big as Ben Shapiro's. Tim Pool's beanie.
All right.
Look,
all right.
No, it's a fedora. I'm proud of it. I actually support it. Hey, don't be bigoted towards Tim Pool.
No, of course.
Look, if you were the son of
Alex Jones is Tim Pool's biggest fan, right?
If you were the son of
Benjamin
Netanyahu,
Netanyahu.
keep it under wraps as well.
Till the right time.
I didn't mean to invade. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
I was right around the corner like Schmeek.
No, that's a classic Alex Jones move. Just bombing into the stream. I've literally watched it happen with Owen. I've watched it happen with you, and I get to be a part of it.
It's great.
It's like Michael Scott, like an inside joke. I've always wanted to be a part of one, and here it is. Yeah, here it is. I get to be a part.
No, but the point you're making about James Fishback, I mean, it's exactly right, which is what we were saying about Casey Putsch. It's like, because when I see somebody, they see how things are going, they go, maybe I'll run for office. The thing I don't want them to think is, man, if I run for office and I don't win, everybody on the right is going to hate me now and start trying to tear me down. It's like, if you're running and you're trying, even if you fail, man, we got your back. And that's what the left does too. The left,
they do.
The left, save me quartering, save me Tim Pool.
Oh, here comes Netanyahu. No. Die, Nazis. Die. Sorry.
Very professional.
This was literally this was the debate. This was the
yeah.
debate. I think August 31st.
I just come in.
No, dude, I thought it was. I knew you would talk, but I did not know that you would be out of your seat for a third of the debate. Like literally, Brandon Straka is like, we've got to belt him down to the seat. It was pretty amazing. It was pretty fun.
He loved it. Yeah, Brandon Straka.
When I have guests on, they're actually smart. I shut up. It was nonstop horse crap.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
It's going to be
When's
awesome.
That coming out?
I think
Next
they're
week,
going to do it,
Something
Alex.
like
They're going to do a part 1 and part 2 because it was like 4 hours. You remember how long it was?
Struck. I said, look, I was obnoxious a few times. I said, cut me heavily. He said, well, we're going to cut you a little bit. I go, cut a lot. It's okay. They admitted we won halfway through, so we can't have too big a route.
Well, that kind of happened in our debate, too. They kept agreeing with us.
Well, you know the problem? I told you this when you came on our show, but they kept saying, well, you don't have a plan. You're going to have to come out and vote for our guy anyways because your guy's going to get 3% or whatever. And I said, look, you think we don't have a plan? No, we don't have the man yet. We don't have the dark horse. We don't have the man, but we actually do have a plan. Your plan is to run Vance, but here's the deal. What is Vance going to do? If he counters Trump and says, I won't be bad like Trump has been, he's been a disappointment, he's going to lose all the loyal MAGA. If he actually just runs with a legacy of Trump, he's going to lose all of us. So they don't actually they have the man, but not the plan. Well, we have a plan, but not the man.
They admitted halfway through, they go, no, you're right, the war's bad. Just don't undermine Trump. We're like, he attacks us and makes it worse.
Yeah.
It was, I'll leave you guys back to the show.
Yeah. No, this was great.
Just a little, like a Jack in the Box. Like,
This is classic Alex Jones. This is it.
This is what it's about.
All right.
But yeah, so
we're going to talk about our
Christian nationalism. Yeah, and just sort of defining that and what that means.
Yeah, so they're saying Christian nationalism is synonymous with white nationalism. And I actually had Thomas Russo, right? He's the head of Patriot
Front, yeah.
But here's the deal. I didn't have him on to agree with everything, although, for the record, I like him.
Smart guy.
He's a smart guy. He's respectful. This is how you know that Patriot Front is not a Fed op, because there were no pipe bombs.
Right. They don't actually do anything illegal.
Right. Nobody actually got hurt, so I think it's probably upstanding citizens. But he is a white nationalist, and in his defense, if he was sitting right here, he would say, a white nationalist, that's redundant, Joel. I'm a nationalist.
Right.
Because
nation means family,
This is what it comes down to. And we have to be honest about this. What is a nation? Is a nation just an economic zone? It's a set of propositions, or is it a people in a particular place? And all throughout the Bible, right, when you look at ethnos, you define biblically a nation, it is a people, right? Can the leopard change its spots, nor can the Ethiopian change his skin? Everyone knew who an Ethiopian was, not because he busted out his paperwork, right? But because it's like, oh, that's an Ethiopian. I can tell by the way he looks.
All right, and all these words come from, the Latin for birth, right? Nature, natal, nation. I mean, it means it's your birth, the condition of your birth. Yeah.
So I am a Christian nationalist. I have never taken on the label white nationalist, and it's not because I want to get cutesy and modern and change the definition of what a nation is. Because here's the deal: like our founders would have agreed with Thomas Rousseau, actually, right? A person, a man of a white man, white free man of good character.
Right.
That's what they would say. This is the guy who gets to vote for us and our posterity. They weren't talking about China or India, or, So they had that understanding. So he is not way off in left field. That doesn't make him a racist. Doesn't mean you hate anybody or whatever. That said, I do think that America is unique. Not so unique that we're an economic zone or just a propositional nationhood, but I do believe that
we have sort of an amount of diversity baked in since our founding.
Yes, and here's the deal. I do think that Providence, right, whether it was right at the time or not, Providence kind of, it shuffles the deck. It changes the game. And in the providence of God, it's been a while. It's been a minute, right? We're talking about a few centuries at this point, and I'm sorry, but Clarence Thomas is not going back. It's just not, like, we got to be real. It's not going to happen.
It would be unfair to expect people whose families have been here longer than most white people to give up their,
So I just define myself as, I'm not a race essentialist, right? I think that religion is more important than race. Race isn't everything, but it's also not nothing. I would describe myself as a race realist. So I think that race is real, and that it's not just melanin, it's not just skin tone. There actually are different peoples with different strengths and different weaknesses. We know this. People suppress it and pretend that it's not, but we know that the average IQ of Haiti is different than the average IQ of America, and we know that
and it's not a moral judgment on their worth as people.
Exactly. So all people are equal, I think, in two ways. Number one, in the sight of God, eternally speaking, all people are made in the image of God. There are no subhumans. That's demonic. That's heresy. That's wrong. And as a Christian minister, I'm going to stand against that. There are not pre-Adamic people, right? The mud people or what? That's crap. And I don't like that. That's heresy. So I believe I'm an old fuddy-duddy, Bible-thumping believer. So I believe that God created the world in 6 literal days. I believe that Eve, her name is Eve, which means mother of all the living. Right? And I don't believe that God used macroevolution to create the world, because macroevolution assumes millions and millions of bones, death. You have, one superior species sitting on the pile of all these inferior ones that came before it and died. But the Bible teaches that death entered the world through sin. So I believe that sin preceded death. And so Adam and Eve were the first people, the only people. God made them. We all descended from Adam and Eve. But here's the deal. I know, getting into the weeds, but I think your listeners will find it fascinating. Noah's Ark, right? Well, how did we get millions? We have millions of different species. How did they all fit on the ark? The Bible gives us the dimensions. Well, it's 2 canines, and from them, over a few thousand years at this point, you get Chihuahuas and you get Great Danes, right? It's 2 felines, and you get lions, you get house cats. And well, here's the deal. There are 2 of every kind of animal, male and female, but there's one creature, not an animal, but a creature, on this boat, on the ark, where there's not just 2, but there's actually 8 persons in all. That's literally what 1 Peter says. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. Do we think that there would be some kind of diversity over, right? One son and his wife, they go and settle this region, right? Some are closer to the equator, some are further away. High time preference, low time preference. There's snow, there's winter, there's harsher elements. In this place, you have to plan ahead, future minded. This other place, every day is kind of like the last. And over time, and that's just the biological, physical climate shaping, not macroevolution, but microevolution, adaptation over time. Then there's the spiritual side, right? That you have, okay, what about those who have been faithful to God? They worship God, and others that sold out and compromised and worship demons. And how does that affect people over time? Not just spiritually, but the spiritual has an impact even on the physical. Think about world religion. Every single major world religion, whether it's Islam or Hinduism is a great example, or Christianity. Does it just speak about heavenly things, spiritual things, or does every major world religion, another great example would be Judaism, does it have dietary restrictions?
Yeah.
Who you can marry, who you can't marry, capital punishment?
Absolutely.
Does that affect lineage? Yes.
And it's not just that. We do it every time we go to church. You stand up, you kneel, you sit. There's
That's
obviously there's something important about the physical actions that you're doing. It's funny. We do it without even thinking about it. Yeah.
Bread and wine, water for baptism. These are physical expressions of our faith. And so what would you do if there are Christian people that are observing the law of God, the covenant of God, the word of God, and they're not marrying their cousins, right? If you ever wonder, well, what's going on with Somalia, right? Why are these people why are you the way that you are? As
Right.
Michael, I'll just leave it there. Well, you look at Somalia, and I'm not bragging about this. I'm not happy. This is a tragedy. But their lineage, their people, it's filled with incest.
Yeah, consanguinity. And that has
a biological effect.
And it's largely born from greed, right? It's about like, well, I don't want my family's wealth going off to that other family, so we're going to keep it in. So,
and royal dynasties and, have the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, they're ruling the known world and they're super rich, but they're also retarded because they're inbred.
Right, and you can almost see the physical consequence of the spiritual failure.
Exactly.
The fear of being greedy. Yeah.
So all that back to Christian nationalism. My point is, as a Christian nationalist, I think that it's just stupid. I think we have a short window of time because I think that truth eventually breaks out. So suppression is going to go away. It may come in waves, but ultimately I think it goes away. If you're going to sit here and say there's no such thing as race, it's just one race, the human race, you may get away with that. But Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're going to laugh you off the stage.
Yeah, and
everyone knows that's not true.
And it's not true for anybody else. And this is my thing is, Christianity, Europe used to be called Christendom. There's a very clear, direct connection between the history of the European people and the history of Christianity. And I see a lot of the attacks on Christianity as sort of proxy attacks on white people overall, because it's the mindset that white people really manifested first, and the idea of human rights and democracy and all these things, they came out of Europe.
That's right.
You just can't dispute that. That's where they came. And so the people who want to destroy those things have decided we'll tie these ideas to the race, we'll demonize the race. Look, they had slaves, so we have to destroy them. And so we also have to destroy the documents that the Founding Fathers wrote and the ideas embedded in there. I mean, it's not that complicated, but the people in power identify a racial element and are targeting people on the basis of race. Right. So to not defend yourself on the basis of race, you're just being stupid. That's right. It's not up to you. It's up to the people attacking you on the basis of your race. Why not defend yourself on the basis of your race?
Right.
And if it was happening to any other race, white people would be outraged about it. If what was happening to white people was happening to black people, it would be white people on the front line saying, this is horrible, we have to stop this.
Right.
So you just have to have as much respect for yourself as you do for other people. It's not that weird.
Christian nationalism, if we were in another nation, I would actually be fine with that Christian nationalism also having a component of an ethno-nationalism.
Same.
Like if God, by way of providence and his sovereignty, sends revival to Japan, I pray that happens. Well, Japan is Japanese, ethnically speaking, not just in a civic kind of union. And so a Christian Japan would also be an ethnically Japanese Japan, and they should stay that way.
Absolutely.
But in America, what I would say is, okay, it's crazy right now. So I would say Hart-Celler Act, which was pushed by a Jew, not in every single Stein, but every single time kind of situation, 100 million need to go back. And Trump's not going to give it to us. But by the grace of God, one day, I hope, we actually get mass deportation. So a lot of people actually do need to go back. And of course, disproportionately, it's not going to be a bunch of white people. It's going to be a bunch of people who are third worlders who should have never been here in the first place. So I think America should be, because it's true to our history, it should be predominantly white, right? But America is never going to be exclusively white, because even though the true definition of nation speaks to people and lineage and family and those kinds of things, there is a providence factor. And we just have to recognize the providence is here different. So then what do I mean as a Christian nationalist? I mean that America should be unapologetically and politically, publicly, explicitly Christian. I think that we should adopt the Apostles' Creed to the Constitution as a preamble. I don't think it should be confessional, where it's all Presbyterians or all Baptists, or we gang up on the Catholics. I think it should be creedal, right? So it's Athanasius Creed, it's Nicene, it's Apostles. So it's a creedal, broad Christianity, so exclusively Christian, but broadly Christian, so that nobody is persecuted. And that keeps the intact, I think, the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law when it comes to the First Amendment, right? Freedom of religion. They weren't talking about freedom of Islam or Judaism. They meant freedom of religion as it comes to particular convictions of our common Lord, right? They were saying that Presbyterians aren't going to drown the Baptist and vice versa.
Because that had been happening for a couple hundred years in the UK.
Exactly. You have to look at authorial intent.
Yeah.
You actually have to get to authorial intent. And what they were talking about Christian on Christian persecution We're not going to do that in America. So I think we should adopt the Apostles' Creed as a preamble to the Constitution. I think the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments are good, but get back to authorial intent. I just gave you an example with the First Amendment. The latter amendments, I do think, need to be revisited. I'm not saying every single one of them goes, but they need to be revisited. The Constitution itself is beautiful. I'm not anti-Constitution, but as a wise man yourself once said, people who love the Constitution are going to have to be willing to temporarily forego the Constitution in order to stop those who hate the Constitution from using the Constitution to destroy the Constitution. Right? You have to know the game.
It sounds complicated, but it's actually not that complicated. And
we know that's happening.
And it's like the Constitution is being destroyed by the left. I mean, they intend to, and they're very open. I have articles and videos today of people talking about they want to destroy the Electoral College, they want to get rid of the Senate, they want to get rid of the Supreme Court. That's because they intend to do tyrannical things and they intend to break the Constitution. So it's like, okay, if we have to temporarily suspend some aspects of the Constitution, especially the later aspects, the amendments or the precedents that have been established. If we have to, say, hey, look, I'm sorry that Joe Biden told you were going to be a citizen, but he had no right to make that claim, and we're going to have to withdraw it. Yeah, it's just like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to break the agreement that traitor made, and that's just what we have to do to save the country, or else it's given over to people who literally despise the Constitution. And I would say Islam is incompatible with the Constitution. I mean, fundamentally, you cannot have the things that our Constitution contains while upholding Islam or even Judaism. Exactly. You can while it's Christian.
You're right. Hinduism, Judaism, Islam, it is counterintuitive, directly contradictory to what it means to be an American. It's anti-American. And so I would like to see a Christian nation formally and publicly. What does that mean? That there's going to be church attendance laws? No. I would like to see us, and it's like, well, that's not American. It's actually very American for there to be Sabbath laws that never, in our history, never mandated church attendance. But what it did do is it said, we're going to set the earthly conditions, civic conditions, in such a way it orients people. It doesn't force them, not force conversions. Only the Holy Spirit can change someone's heart. You can't force someone to be a Christian. But it's setting a conducive environment that orients people towards heavenly life. So we're not going to bombard people on the Lord's Day with markets and capitalism, crony capitalism, and advertisements on your smart fridge. The first thing you see when you wake up in the morning, no, we're going to say, no, this is a day of rest. And Christians are encouraged to go and worship. Nobody's forced to. It means, what does it mean to be a Christian nationalist? It means that from the White House on Christmas, you get Merry Christmas and you don't get Happy Diwali. Right? Does it mean that we round up all the Muslims and we round up? No. But it does mean you can have church bells because that's a public expression. But you don't get to have prayer sirens because we're a Christian nation. We don't do that here.
And again, we'll have other religions here, but, you go to Saudi Arabia, there's not a single church in Saudi Arabia. And I don't begrudge them that. If that's how
Dubai.
It's fine. Yeah.
Dubai is as Western as it can be. So you go to Dubai as a modern, Western kind of person, and you're not going to be thrown in jail, and you're not going to be mistreated, and all those kinds of things.
But you're not going to hold office.
Yes,
you're sure as hell not going to hold office, and you're not going to build a church.
You're not going to dress like a whore either.
Right. And so, hey, if that's how they want to run their country, and you don't like that, you can't. You just don't go there.
And all these feminist boss babes want to go party in Dubai. Right. So they want to go on vacation in Dubai, but guess what? They're able to do. They're able to abide by the rules. And then when they're at home, they treat America like a brothel. Nobody can tell me what to do. I'm my own boss.
And you're a Nazi if you say so.
Right.
Incredible stuff. Christ is King. America After Trump is the name of the conference. NewChristianRight.com/conference. Fishback, all one word.
I'm going to tell you something.